Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Fight Night Rising. Back once again with Boopasaurus alongside me. Boop, how are we doing this evening?
I am doing great. I just had some Thai food. I got my Thai
Ooh,
coffee with me. I'm feeling the Thai food in my chest right now. May not have been the smartest choice before sitting down and casting, but it doesn't matter because we have TFT to help me power our way through what I think is going to be our last fight night of 2020.
yeah, I think it will be actually. Oh man, the Thai food. I really have food cravings, but Thai food's like the one thing that I sometimes like actually crave. Anyways, I'm jealous of you, but let's introduce our cast of players here tonight. Of course, we got our returning players with Riku and Riku being the winner once again. Woofy narrowly almost taking it, wasn't striking distance, but has been improved every single week. Is this Woofy's time? Perhaps it will be. We also got Moo 2, Sonic's last Kardax we've seen here before, MrMeeSeeks, Within, and there's a cool name down there at the bottom there, Boop. That's a one Gunmay. How are we feeling about that one?
Oh man, retirement in esports is broken once again. Just a couple months later, it's actually really funny because I don't know if you've been following Gunmay, but the big Gunmay news right now is if his emote had a pacifier or a mouth or a beak. That's been the news on Gunmay lately. So knowing that coming into this, I'm sure we're fresh and we're ready to go.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, the thing about retirement, there's been so many times where people like just in all of esports, of course, retiring, but then they come back, and it's expected to see a player like Gunmay, who obviously has always had so much passion for the game, come back and want to compete again in Fight Night Risings, and hopefully even more. But we'll see. We'll see if he's able to have some of that Gunmay legacy and play to those expectations that we know that he is here to play for. Not only that, but to play for some money as well. All these players going to be playing for that prize pool, that $200 total. 100 of that going to the first place, second or $50, third and fourth 25, and the top three will be invited back for it next week.
Next
Now,
year.
oh yeah, next nice. I it's just have it say
Yeah.
next week, but
Because
we're gonna be
remember,
taking the
Crowhead,
holidays. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hindsight is
Next year.
2020.
Oh man, you're so right, Boop. That's like actually such a good and accurate statement. Like you're actually a genius for I
Thank
don't
you.
know. It's like seems so simple, but actually is like so much like foresight into that. But
I
we're getting
appreciate that.
into game already here with the perspective of Gun May.
Okay,
Like to
my
see how he's gonna approach this patch.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited because in terms of where the meta is right now, it seems to be pretty settled. I don't know if y'all had read FaZe's most recent patch breakdown, where I believe Dusk was number 2, and then the legendary comp, I like to call it Bill Gates because it's so expensive,
Yeah.
is going to be something that you see almost everyone running at 8 and 9. But again, I
Oh
think
yeah.
like one of the coolest things at this point is this is the last week, right? Before next year, I'm assuming that we might be able to see some crazy shenanigans, maybe with our friend Gunmay here, who I think made a name for himself playing Space Jam back in
Yeah.
set 2, and never really looked back from there.
Yeah, definitely. Gunmay preferring at times those, let's say, unorthodox, not like fully top tier meta compositions. Perhaps he has something he's been cooking up for this week. But as you mentioned, of course, the legendary composition. I mean, personally, it actually is my favorite. If you have the start to be able to do that, go 8, go 9, slap those legendaries in there, and they're just so good. There's a reason why they're top composition. Dusk as well, always gonna be super good. Warwicks as well. People are still playing Ash, so I mean there honestly hasn't been too much variation. The only thing that's like super, super different from like, I guess a few weeks ago, like say a month ago, is like there's really no Talons anymore. And there's no like, or very few people trying to run Zed. There is a Philios actually as well. We saw
Yeah,
that last week a little bit, and people I think are still going to be going for that if they, find a chosen Moonlight or something of the sort there.
you have to find that chosen moonlight, or else
Yeah.
it's going to be a trek. And I think that is actually really interesting to bring up because last week we actually saw a ton of moonlight from Riku.
Yeah.
Um, and I believe it was one Diana and two affilioses in terms of the 3 games that they played Moonlight. So we
Yeah.
know that someone here does prefer to go that way, especially if it's uncontested. But Moonlight is something that is just not consistent, right?
Mhm.
It can torpedo your HP, and it might not ever regain its power if you never get to that tier 4 unit, for example. So what you absolutely need to do when it comes to Moonlight is here at 2-1, which is don't lose your HP by a lot, right? You don't want to hit this NPC round at Krugs at like 60 HP, which
Yeah.
we've seen happen with some Moonlight players. You want to get through the 2 stages pretty comfortably, which you can if you get the right choices. But if you're not presented with that Moonlight early enough, then it can be tough. What Gunmay is doing here is picking up something very interesting, which is the Dusk Chosen, which we saw I Like Hobos pick up last week, and it didn't really work out for them. But Dusk, according to Faye, is the second best comp in TFT right now. I believe there are 6 or 7 top 4 comps in TFT right now, but I think what we're seeing on Dusk is just that it's raw stats, right? You put them in, you get the stats, you're good to go. And you got the rod in case you get a spat as well a little later on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on paper, Dusk is gonna be really, really good at all points of the game, as you just said, with those free stats. The thing that most people tend to shy away from, unless you're Gunmay or I Like Hobos, is that early Dusk Vayne Chosen, because she's really not gonna be providing too much. And you take a Chosen to hopefully sometimes win rounds, but you're gonna be losing some rounds. Gunmay unwilling to slam any completed item here, just putting the rod on the Vayne for now. That's probably gonna end up just being an item carrier. I Like Hobos, I believe last week it was them who tried to go for that tier 3 Vayne, but it didn't quite work out. There is a Philios in the shop and a Lysandra, but not gonna be out for the Chosen there. And actually, going back to last week, Riku going Diana, if I remember correctly in the interview, they said they weren't, like aggressively trying to go for that Moonlight composition. They just like found the pieces a few of those games and ran it because of that. And that's kind of the perfect case scenario, as you were just saying. It's not something you can really just force there. And I assume if someone's going to find it, they're going to end up going that route. But Gunmay, I mean, I would say Gunmay doesn't really have any direction right now. He has his whole bench filled with units here. If he finds another Vayne, I don't even know if it's correct to take that, honestly. Another Philios in the shop, but we're not really going to be going Moonlight. The passive level up to 4, so we're going to be playing 2 Vanguards here, and a couple synergies are in there, but no other units besides the Vayne are tier 2. You make 10 gold here, but still, you're going to be just bleeding HP if you're Gunmay, and like you're just saying, some people get 60 HP or so on Krugs. Gunmay is kind of on track to be,
Yeah.
not quite 60, but between the 60 to 70 range.
And the last time Gunmay retired and came back, this is the Redux version. This is the squeakle, if you will.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was very similar to this, where there wasn't a lot of direction. There was a lot of early game investment without a lot of profit. And so what Gunmay needs to do is make sure that you're actually getting to those power levels, right? And I think the lack of direction is the best way to explain what's happening on the screen right now. However, the good news is we're losing only by a little, right? We're probably okay,
Yeah.
so we're only losing only by. You never know with Italy. I feel like the
Sure.
damage is almost random. It's not, but it feels that way sometimes. But when it comes to losing, you don't want to be losing by a lot. And that's why we were saying you don't want to be around 60, 70 at Krugs. I've been recently talking to some beginning TFT players, and they were telling me how hard it is to be okay with losing. So what you guys just saw right there is one of those situations where you're going to be okay with losing that round because it's just by that one unit, right?
Yeah.
Early game, losing 3-4 HP a round is much better than losing the 6 to 10 that you might lose if you get wiped every single round, but have the same amount of money, right? So that's
Definitely.
kind of, I think, the way that you have to think about it is your losses are investing in your economy. In the late game, you're going to have to use that money in a different way than whoever's in first place, most likely. But as of right now, if you're Gunmay, losing is totally cool, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't want to lose by a lot. And that's what we're trying to avoid right now if you're Gunmay. I don't think Gunmay is going to be actively looking for I gotta win this round for at least a couple more rounds.
Yeah, definitely. It's something you just brought up there. People, who are new to the game, not being as okay with losing, is thinking about that. And I think that like you're definitely right there. Like unless you come from a game with some background where it's like you're used to using your HP as a resource, it just feels so unintuitive in
Mhm.
TFT to just be like always losing and losing. But it isn't until you really understand the core fundamentals of how the game can be played in so many different ways that you're like, okay, I want to lose here to make that econ, even though it's like, okay, lose is bad, but no, sometimes actually
Even
losing is is of course good. And
Yeah.
yeah, for Gunmay here, losing is still going to be good. He's still making that lose streak gold here, and he's actually like full pivoted his composition here in the last round. I thought he might be keeping the pair of veins that was on the bench to maybe go for a vein 3, but he just wanted to remake the vein, sell the chosen off, and his shop was offered 3 Elderwoods with the Vygar there, and he did get a tier from the last carousel. So he has actually got tiers from both of the carousels now. A few people were contesting that initial carousel tier because a lot of people's item of choice from that initial one. But Gunmay got it, and now he's made a blue buff for this Vygar. And Vygar's comp, that's not super standard, but if you do roll it, it can be pretty good. It's hard to win games against, say, like a capped like Dusk or Legendary composition, I would say, but it still can get you those top fours, and maybe if you high roll even further than that.
Even a tier 3 Viger, I think, is going to have a hard time winning against
Yeah.
like high damage and very quick damage. So they can get into the back line. You saw exactly the weakness of Viger comp right in front of your eyes, which was that Katarina. All they needed was someone to jump in the back, and the Viger was dead. Right. So
Yeah.
there's going to be less opportunities to protect the Viger, at level 5 than say level 8 or 9. But Gunmay at 70 HP this is not the worst.
Yeah.
It is the worst in the lobby right now, but we have seen people at 60, 62 here, so we definitely could have gone worse, right? But in terms of economy, that could also be a little better. We've actually invested a lot of money into some units, mostly veins, but we're not even going that particular route anymore. So where is that money going to end up going? We'll find out eventually, but we have to be able to power up this Viger, or else it's going to be a long lobby for our friend Gunmay here, as the rest of the lobby is going to start powering up and overcoming the burst of just a tier 1 Viger for now.
Yeah, this mid game is going to be the pivotal point for Gunmay's success or potential success in this game. I almost would like him to see him sell to 30 gold here, and he does exactly that, leaving the vein on the bench. He's offered a Dusk Chosen Thresh. If I were Gunmay right now, I would definitely consider that. It's going to be some really good frontline to stabilize the mid game. You can still go full Dusk with these items that you have right now. Blue buff can go on a Kane or a Riven potentially, one or the other. You have a Nico as well to get something tier 2'd, but it looks like Gunmay is opting not to go for that option here. Slimming the Ludens, though, I don't hate that. I think you need some sort of power right now if you're not taking that Dusk Thresh, and that's going to be a little bit more than you need. Yeah, with that Ludens damage is actually why he's able to get that kill on Teemo. Might still lose the round, but it's going to be by less units, and Gunmay is still just playing that HP game in Econ.
And this one's going to be a little bit better. Are we going to be able to sneak another unit kill? No, not with that Mana Reeve. But I think the key component that you said there, Khroen, was even in the late game, you're going to see people purposely losing and switching out their units, right? So when it comes to what this Vigar has, if we're unable to get there, you've got to be flexible. You've got to be able to adjust and get your best in slot champs and items onto the board. But with the Ludens, we're only really going to be helping our early game for now on the Vigar. It might be better when we do have a Kane a little bit later on, but Gunmay is spending a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah.
If you see a 6 loss streak, you would normally assume that in terms of gold economy that they're probably at like 30 to 50 gold, right? We're not even close. We actually used the Nikos on the Viger, so we're full committed.
Wow. Yeah, that's okay. I personally, I think dislike this play. I think that guy made a little bit more HP to go to have to like panic, spend a lot of gold, and spend the Nico. I think Nico is going to be so valuable when you're going to have the econ that Gunmay had with this game, and you're not even going to win this round as well. I mean, I guess it's going to the idea that you're saving HP. Are you going to be able to make 30 gold here? I mean, potentially, if you sell the whole left side of that bench there, will Gunmay opt to do that? Not looking like it. So 20 gold, 7 loss streak right now. You're going to be able to make 30 just baseline because this is such a long lose streak. But you're committed right now to the Vygar, right? And you sold some Elderwoods already. You have the pair of Hecarims, but it's just an awkward game here from Gunmay, I think, and not one that I think I'm really used to seeing from Gunmay. But I mean,
We
still
have
time
a
left.
we have a little bit of what I like to call some unintentional innovation happening.
Yeah.
when it comes to Gunmay's play right now, because someone's going to be able to pull out of something that is, quote unquote non-traditional, right? There was a period of time where Gunmay swore that if you roll down at 3-2, that would totally work out for you. Right. And while he might have been, being a little facetious, right? That's just the type of mindset that Gunmay tends to have when it comes to games like this. He's not going to be afraid to try, right? Like we've seen people level up before the first PvP round. We've seen people
Oh, yeah.
spend all their money at these random times, and Gunmay actually did a lot of rolling at 3-2 there. 3-1.
Yep.
So maybe we're actually still on that train. But if anyone can get out of it, it's Gunmay. But we're in a ticking time bomb situation at this point, and it's like this litter will self-destruct and so, and that's
Yeah.
going to be Gunmay in about 5 or 6 rounds if they aren't careful. In terms of the rest of the lobby, someone that I want everyone to like really pay attention to is Within at the top, because when we say first or eighth, that's Within. Got first place in 2 lobbies last week and got last and 7th in the other 2 lobbies last week. And that
Oh,
goes
yeah.
to show that you can still get into that top 3 while getting last. So don't ever give up. But, Riku was the one that was like, if you come in here, you better play first or eighth. And so we definitely have players really leaning into that. And Within is definitely one of those players. And the fact that they're playing
Ooh.
Warlord definitely shows how important that early game was for Within. And look at just the HP lead even from Wolfey, right? 92 to
Yeah.
78. It's a little bit of a space has been created at the top now.
So usually I think with some players, and I think Within falls into this category of if you're ahead early and you play a first or eighth style, you're usually going to be going first, like, 80% of the time there, or at least like second or something. Now, Warlords is a composition that does struggle to secure that first place. You mentioned Faye's article earlier on the meta, but I think Faye wrote an article also recently about the Warlords specifically and that composition and kind of how to pilot it. And it's one that does very much struggle between that mid to late game composition, or mid to late game transition rather here. And we're already seeing it right now, actually, going up against MrMeeSeeks there. The win streak has been foiled, even though there's going to be a Katarina 2 with 2 items already dedicated to her. Now, these aren't best in slot Katarina items by any means, right? If you're thinking about Katarina items, you think, okay, Gunblade, QSS, like Hodge, things like that. It makes me think that this is not going to be a full commit Warlord. It's just going to be what's going to get you to the late game, getting you to that legendary composition, in which a lot of HP leads like this do transition into at that point. Now, Within is going to be able to go to level 7 either next turn or on 4-1, and probably just keep this Warlords up until Within goes to level 8. Maybe level 9, depending on how strong this Katarina actually is and how well it carries, and then rolling at that point for that transition.
The rounds are getting close. Right now, for Within, he should be fine when
Yeah.
it comes to this particular round. But you're, like you said, you're already seeing the Warlords kind of get a little bit weaker. Once we hit floor 1, Warlords will definitely start losing some power.
Yeah.
We have fully stacked Warlords here with the Cat, the Garen, the Nidalee, and the Zin, all I believe with 5 stacks already. And so they're not going to get any stronger than they are now until they get upgraded. And so that's like the thing about Warlords, is there is a very definite cap in power when it comes to
Yeah.
this composition, which is why it's actually pretty nice to transition out of this comp into the Bill Gates or Legendary comp a little later, because all of these units every single one of these units falls off.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's why like getting them out of there, like when hey, you did your thing, but we don't need you anymore. Thanks, get your paycheck over there. Right. That needs to
Mhm.
start happening, I think, at some point. Or we got to switch into Dusk or legendaries to try to win the lobby, is
Yeah.
what I would assume.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at these items, and I think Within got some really, really good items here. Makes the Hand of Justice and his Easy Route both are going to be, you're not sad about making both of those or making either of those here. And getting to make both, I think, is super, super good for Within, because it gets you that mid game power that you might have otherwise lacked if you were just running the Warlords there and got some kind of awkward components. But going up against Wolfey, and Wolfey actually rolled down a little bit on 7 here, has an Azir for his efforts, is making items on the Warwick as the round starts here, and so maybe going to be trapped into going a Warwick carry there. QSS obviously is a item that can go on many, many people, but Wolfey is looking a little rough right now from just that board and bench state. And if actually next we could go over to Wolfey's point of view to see, what he actually decides to, or I guess decides to go with from this transition, that'd be very interesting to me. Because if he even had an item on the bench there was obviously a lot to do in that 4-1 roll down phase, and he couldn't quite do all of it in time. But look at his board; it's still just all one star units here. Like, oh no.
Oh man, so this happened to me the other day, meaning yesterday. It's 2020, you don't know anymore.
Yeah, true.
Until like in 3 weeks. Anyway, I had really good units, and it was almost exactly like this, like the same exact units even. Best in slot items, right, on my Warwick, and I just could not find other units.
Yeah,
I rolled down, and that's the unfortunate thing about investing in 4-1 is if you roll down at 4-1 and spend too much money, it's delaying your 5-1 roll down to level 8 and or 9. If you get there, right? We do end up getting a victory and
yeah,
arguably against the weakest team in the
uh,
lobby.
yeah. It's
Um,
lucky.
but that goes to show how strong these units are. But right now, it's kind of like I would give them like a 20% chance to win the next round if there's going to be no upgrades. As we go over to Mr. Kardax, who I believe has been here before. Gunmay's on fire now, by the way, everyone. And we're on a
Yeah.
6 loss streak with Kardax, who is on the brink of elimination. Has some good item components, right? We can maybe make a Death Blade. Shojin's not that great. Chie can be good.
Ooh.
And we do end up getting our chosen Moonlight Lissandra to tier 3. And so we are going to get our tier 4 Diana. And that's, wipe that sweat from your brow, my friend. It still might not be enough.
Yeah, if you're at 38 HP right now, 6 loss streak, now is kind of the point where you definitely have to be power spiking. But no, Diana did get nerfed recently, and I think we're kind of seeing the results of that right here. Kardax dropping 25 is going to be a little unfortunate. Honestly, with these items, you might be just have to slam some of them, even if they're not optimal. Like you can't really afford to hold 5 components on the bench if you're on this heavy of a loss streak here. Just quickly going back to what Wolfey was doing there. Didn't get a chance to talk about it when we saw it on the screen. Hopefully Kardax scouts it. Okay, it was it was too fast. But yeah, Wolfey actually very, very fortunate for him to run into last Kardax right when he did, because Kardax was by far, I would assume, the weakest person on the board there. But it just goes to show also the strength that a Warwick composition does have. That's what Wolfey was going for, that Warwick carry, and had a locket on the Azir in the back to kind of give a little bit of that shielding and a little bit of the front line with the Sand Soldiers as well. Something that I think was very, very necessary for the point. That point in the game for Wolfey, and he's still stabilizing on 65 in second place right now. But last Kardax still needs to be improving this composition here. You have the tier 4 Diana, but you probably have to make a hand of justice here, I would say, and you gotta, I don't know, commit like a GA or something to somebody else, because okay, you roll and you hit the Pike 3, and Pike's actually a pretty good unit with some items there, so I don't dislike seeing that Pike 3 come through. It is going to have a GA and a Shojin, and hey, you gotta use items, and I guess that's gonna be the best allegation of him right there.
I love the positioning here as well. Crossing or making sure that your Diana and your Pike are on opposite sides means
Yeah.
that once that Pike does ult, he's going to join the Diana, and everyone who he stuns is going to stay. So Diana's going to get a better ability to get a better ult off, and you actually saw that happen immediately right then. If they're next to each other, they might split their damage, and Diana might not ever make it to the other side of the board, for example. But with a little bit of support, with a little bit more, muscle behind her, Pike helps her get across the finish line. Plus that stun, I believe, on tier 3 Pike is like 5 seconds. It's pretty long.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and so it's just like another really good opportunity for Diana to get to that ult, get to those shields again, get those stacks on, and try to win out the round. Because if that Diana gets bursted, just like we saw it last time, regardless of if it's tier 4 or not, you might lose.
Yeah, definitely. You might. And yeah, Last Cardax is going to be keeping this up here, going to go for the opposite sides on the Diana. And Diana jumping right into the Aphelios here. Mood 2, actually, the other player going for these Moonlights. But the positioning difference is real in this fight here. And it's, necessary for Last Cardax. Need every single win you can get at this point. And it's going to be very, very pivotal to get that 2-win streak going into neutrals. But we have one person even falling below last Kardax there. Can't quite see with the text on the screen in the way from last Kardax there, but someone is below, and MrMeeSeeks is going to be close behind at 29 right now. Now with this composition here, there's really not many improvements that last Kardax can make. Like you need Econ to level up to level 7, but even at 7, like you can't really fit too much more in. Maybe you can eventually get 6 assassin. I don't even think that's necessary really. Perhaps you can go some adepts or something just to get those little like small splash synergies in. But that's really going to be the only hope for last Kardax here in terms of making more improvements as we reach our end game here.
Exactly, and that's the thing about Moonlight is if you don't get here in time, you've lost too much health, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about with Last Cardex right now was did we get to this in time to where this can elevate us into a potential top 4? As of right now, maybe. I think, especially if there wasn't a Pike 3 on the board, then no. But because there is a Pike 3 on the board right now, and any type of long CC is going to be helping Diana and everyone else, it's a really, really big deal for that Pike to get that ult off, protect that Diana, give Diana the time that she needs to get to that ultimate, and then hopefully able to 2v6 the rest of the board. Like we've seen it happen already as we get a chosen Jhin right now for Sonic, and Sonic was talking a little bit of the trash on the Twitterverse today. This is his first tournament, and he made sure that everyone was ready, and we'll see if that's the case. And that is why, friends,
Ooh.
always put your carries in the corner. You got to scout because they can get sniped out like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who was not ready there was Sonikzo that Diana. You took a long time, changing your composition and making sure you got the items, but you didn't scout at all. And because of that, last Kardax was on top of that positioning. Now Sonikzo is down to just 1 hit remaining. Is gonna have time now to scout around and position correctly. But even what is on a board at the end of the day here, I think can definitely be improved upon. Like there's 3 vanguards, 3 sharpshooters. A little bit awkward there. Definitely could have been either 4, I would say 4 sharpshooters is what Sonic should have gone for there. Going to be selling off the set there. Going to be taking out the Hecarim. You can put a couple keeper in. You have that Riven as well, but still not Riven 2. It's still just real weird here for Sonics. I think any single fight that's against a strong, like even moderately strong player could go very poorly. Fortunately, you're going against Within, who is trying to save up for that fast 9, so maybe this round is winnable.
And I think this is a really great opportunity to talk about the late game loss streak, right? You feel like at the late game you should be pushing for the victory, right? But again, there's a lot of room between level 8 and 9 to make decisions. And when it comes to Within, we saw I Like Hobos do it a couple times too. They get to 8 and then they just stop. And they start econing again. They take a couple more losses, but hopefully their econ was high enough to where it doesn't take as long to recoup a
Yeah.
little later. But in terms of economy right now, Sonic gets very lucky, finds that other Riven. We don't have
Yeah.
more Dusk, but and that's actually like a really big deal in my opinion when it comes to Riven because you don't build tank items on Riven not because her AP is so good. It's because Dusk 4 gives her that extra AP and you can build defensively on her. Ionic Spark gives a little bit of both, but this is going to be difficult. And Jhin again is going to be in the corner, and I think finally finds a team comp that's not going to snipe him out.
There's actually a lot of decisions, maybe not a lot, but a few key decisions here that I think are a little bit, I would say, awkward, I suppose, if you're Sonics. And I don't know if they would have made the difference, but I'll go over them in a second here. Sonics does go out in 8th place there, but the decision to put 3 tier 1 vanguards in as your front line. Of course, you had a couple keepers in there with Riven and Kennen as well. But as you said, there was only 2 Dusk. Usually, if you're going that Dusk composition, you're going to have Riven with a couple more items than just 1 Ionic Spark, and there was the option to do so. Could have had a blue buff there, could have had, double Hodge. But the Riven wasn't going to be able to be living because she didn't have any tanky items, and also wasn't going to be able to deal that much damage because, again, there was only 2 Dusk there. Your front line's not going to be great either. I mean, you got a little bit of Keeper shields in there to help there, but it still just wasn't enough. The last fight was pretty close, but it was still far away from being a super strong comp there. To move back over to Gunmay at this point. Also, we see Within go to level 9 on the right side of our screen here, and still with 40 HP left. And everybody's getting pretty low here. Only one person above 40 HP, and that's Wolfey with 51 right now. Gunmay still with this Vigar here, is actually 2 Vigars away from Vigar 3, but it's not looking like he's going to find it, at least not right now.
And remember, one of those Vigars is a Nico's.
Yeah.
It just, and I didn't really see anyone else using the Vigar, so this has just been,
Oof.
Gunmay and the Vigar search right right now. And at least we've got Gunblade blue buff. Ludens at this point has fallen off, but look at just the synergies when it comes to the Mage CC. If the Nami is able to get at least one of the ults off, your backline is going to be safe. If Nami dies, then probably not. And so the positioning for mages is arguably one of the hardest in the game, as you've got your tanks aren't even the tankiest of tanks, right? You've got Annie who can be that, but everyone else is going to be, paper mache, the fully built out ashes, the fully built
Yeah.
out Affilii, right? So that's my concern here. But if Vigar gets good ults and we have a Jewel Gauntlet Last Whisper GA on the Ahri, then anything can happen, especially with the Jewel Gauntlet Ahri.
Yeah.
Definitely look at where that ult goes at first, and that might determine who wins or loses on this potential elimination round. It's 2 members at 3 and 1 HP respectively.
Yeah, this is really coming down to the wire for a lot of players here. Gunmay going up against Riku, and Riku has a dust composition, but it's not going to be that great here. Can the mages clean up? It's looking like it right now. Vigar going to be casting a couple more times. If they can snipe the Jhin, I think it'll be a round win, and of course that does happen with the targeting there. So Gunmay lives on, and Riku actually a bit of a struggle here in game number 1, going out in 6th. Kardax did drop as well in 7th here. We are nearing our top 4, but going and looking at Gunmay's comp here, talk about the front line of it, yeah, it's super awkward. You're going to have a sizable amount more when this 2 more Annies are found, because tier 3 Annie not only just has the stats of her own, but is also going to make that ZZ Rock come out with a bit more HP, and that might be the difference in a lot of rounds, honestly. That Ahri needs to be tier 2'd as well. You're 1 away from that. 2 Vigars away, 2 Annies away, 1 Cassiopeia away as well. I think Gunmay wants to fit that in over the secondary Vigar that's in right now. It gives 2 Dusk as well, and honestly, just a little bit more frontline. Have Lilia in as well for that Mage. The rolls need to be happening, though. They need to be happening fast.
Yeah, not a lot of time remaining, just 12 seconds. We are going to upgrade that R. We don't have a lot of time left. We do have a Thresh on the bench just in case. Are we going to pick up that Zill? Might as well for now. Zill could be another one of those units that's the difference between winning and losing a particular round. But we're going to take away the Nami, so the backline's actually going to have a little bit less initial protection, unless that Zillion does protect them in that backline. But with this Kane 2, with Hodge,
Oh,
Morellos,
yeah.
Ludens, it's going to be pretty hard. And it's Blue Cane as well, probably because of that Hodge. And that's just so much damage, guys.
Yeah, like actually, I really want to go back to Within's board here and look at it just a bit more, because we can really see the whole story here of how you're going from a 6 Warlord early mid game to this legendary composition that Within has right there. You'd like Chosen Lee Sin, Blue Kane 2, and the power of it at this point is just going to be so damn good. And yeah, 4 Dusk in here as well. Yeah, Lilia 2 as well. 1 Yone away, but no money, however. Still 33 HP right now, and it doesn't look like you're going to be losing many fights here. So Within's definitely like guaranteed for a top 4 here.
And this is, I think, a mark of a pretty weak lobby. When we say that, it's not like the players are weak. It's just in terms of power level of team comps. I think this Kane might be the strongest unit in the game right now,
Yeah.
which is saying something about the lobby. And so I think the rest of the lobby could be strong. Not a lot of people have pivoted into this legendary comp just yet. And as you said back in like round 2-2, right? Within was already giving themselves a chance to get here.
Yeah.
And, it's been 30 some odd minutes and now we're here. And that's the amount of forethought that it takes to successfully run a comp like this. And now we've got the Zill, we've got 2 tier 2 5 cost units in Lee Sin, and 3, because I believe there is also that Lilia and the
Yep.
Kane. So I mean, we're chilling right now, and you should be replacing your units with legendary units at this point in the game, especially if you see a 6 in your round number.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ooh, the Zephyr there is actually not going to be too bad for Within. It's hitting the tier 1 Azir, but this Kane in the back gets a spin-off and actually goes down to the Aphelios there. The damage wasn't quite there with the BT. Aphelios is able to just heal on up. Might actually be around loss for Within. If the Yone gets another ult off, actually, we'll see. Oh no, okay, wasn't able to get the sun off, so Aphelios pretty good. And Mutu and Gunmay are actually both out at -7, and Gunmay wins the flip there and gets the top 4 on game number 1 here. So not a bad start with Gunmay actually, as much as it was looking a little wonky towards the beginning.
Yeah, I think the lobby helped.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
in particular, like that Viger comp doesn't necessarily top. Like we've seen lobbies that look like Within's team like in 5-1 before.
Yeah.
So it is just the power level here, and that is going to make your decisions a little bit different, right? So Within was able to be incredibly selfish because I believe Within's the only one who was capable of getting here. But also that means that in the next game, if we don't get here, he might get 8th, right? And this is the
Yep.
definition of that 1st or 8th play style, right? Is okay, so we got to play Within's type of game right now, and we see that when Within gets to start well, we feel good about that, right? But just like a lot of other players, if that's not the case, they tend to
Ooh.
get 7th or 8th. So Within definitely competing for the lobby win here. Wolfey, I believe, still does need a little bit more power, but we've got a double Rabadon's Ezreal in the backline. That's actually going to be doing a lot of healing, but no ult was done, and that's unfortunate for MrMeeSeeks.
Yeah, that's a tier 3 Ashe there for MrMeeSeeks, so it might not even matter. Okay, nope, it matters. The Lee Sin gets the kick. It doesn't matter how many stars your Ashe has if it gets kicked off the board like that. Within and Wolfey remain. And yeah, Wolfey was saving up to go level 9, and Wolfey is at the end game that he is going to be sticking with here. It is going to be that Warwick composition with, I would say, not like perfect items, and you're still only on Ashe 1, but hey, it's good enough to get here, and I think Wolfey played the game honestly really impressively from the mid game that he had, having only 1 cost or 1 star units there. I think Wolfey got a little bit lucky when it comes to fight RNG earlier on, but either way, played the rest of the game out well enough with that in mind to get here, and it's still gonna be hard to win, but at least get a second here.
Yeah, and a 2nd place is wonderful for a player like Wolfey, who, when they first got here in Fight Night, wasn't even close to competing for like 7th place. So
Oh.
seeing them do so well and continuously do better every single week is just so cool to see. As Yone should be able to get another ult off, but in the wrong direction. We'll see how much of a hero Irelia is. I know when I'm doing it on Summoner's Rift,
Uh,
I'm going for it. But no, we're gonna get kicked out just like me on Summoner's Rift 2, and we're gonna go again. But I as that was a little bit closer than I had anticipated
yeah,
for
me too.
Wolfie, based off of the fact that there's like 120 gold worth of units on the board right now. I exaggerated a little bit, but I think I'm actually kind of close. For Within. Wolfie could potentially, sneak a victory and get one of those coin flips, but needs 2 of them, as we are going to enter
Yeah.
7-1, which tends to happen at the end of metas and the end of patches, which is the game start going longer as everyone kind of understands how to play with game states a little bit better.
Yeah, Within potentially could fall in just 1 round because we are going to stage 7 here. Base damage is going to be a lot higher, but if it's only by 1 or 2 units, then yeah, you need a couple of rounds there. Azir 2 is found now Within getting even more upgrades. I think Wolfie, yeah, is at disadvantage here, just comp strength wise. But I'd be curious to see how Wolfie is going to switch it up to have a better chance here. Within is repositioning all over the place here. Isn't really scouting much though. It's going to scout at the end to be able to see where the Kane wants to go. Kane's going to remain in the middle. Shroud stays on the bench actually, and Shroud's a beautiful item to get at this point in the game. Be able to place it once the round starts here, and that Lee Sin is going to need a lot more time for us able to kick, but does find the kick on the Kane though in the back.
Yeah, and the Ezreal actually is going to be a little bit of MVP for Wolfey, but not for long, as Arleeson is actually going to potentially get kicked away. This might be a round win for Wolfey, and that's going to be mostly position oriented.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
even with the Shroud of Stillness, Wolfey picked out a win here. So we're at one
man.
round remaining. Khroen doesn't get any closer than this. We've got a legendary comp versus kind of like a divine Warwick mixed comp. But we'll see which one will reign supreme. The numbers, and I think the great minds of TFT
Oh.
would tell you this legendary comp would. But Wolfey is playing really well, so we don't know just yet.
Yeah, with it actually selling off a unit to replace the Shroud. I think it was the Riven, rolling for that. Oh, okay. I actually had one more roll to try to find a Zillion. We're not going to see if that would ever be found, though. Okay, these items are going to be replaced. The Onyx Spark actually didn't get played with anything yet, but it's all up to this Kayn, I think. And the Kayn is living for far longer than it was last round.
Yeah, and the thing about Blue Kayn is Blue Kayn can get bursted super quickly, and if you just don't, he is going to take over the round. He
Oh,
one-shot
man.
almost everybody, and Wolfie does fall on round 7-2, so pretty long lobby to
Yeah.
start things off tonight. But, I mean, if that is a window into what we're about to see within Do, it might be time for some players to start a little bit faster. You can't let a player like Within run away with a lobby like that. And while it was really, really close right there at the end, it really felt like Within was mostly in control
Oh, yeah.
for 90% of that late game.
Definitely, and Within put himself in the position to be in control for pretty much that whole game with that mid-game Warlords. I think it's so good to pivot into that legendary composition. Another thing as well, Wolfie was 1 unit off of taking down Within there because Within was at 2 HP. If one more unit lived, it would have been a Wolfie win. Also, Wolfie started off last week Fight Night with 2 second places in a row. Wolfie again coming in, game number 1, getting a second place. So pretty on par here. 8 points for Wolfie, but 10 for Within after game number 1. And MrMeeSeeks actually coming in third there, beating out a lot of other strong players in this lobby, like, Gunmay, Moo, Riku, Last Kardax, all, I would say, fairly, fairly strong players. Sonikzo is, new competitor. There's a little bit of rough start, but you got to just shake it off here. You got to go into game 2 being like, all right, there's only up to go from here. And with a playstyle like we see Within have, you can get top 3 with going, 8th place, like as you were saying earlier, as long as you have some first sprinkled in there.
So if history repeats itself, everyone at home, Within will get 8th place this round,
Yeah.
and still make it into the top 3. And that's never going to win you a tournament, but that definitely will get you into a top 3, top 4 situation. Usually a singular lobby win just gives you enough points to compete,
Yeah.
regardless of what your second result is. But what that means, though, is that your second result needs to be you can't follow up success with a failure, right? And sometimes
Yeah.
you can, like Within did, but if you want to win the lobby, right, you can't be going 10-1-1-10, right? You're never going to win that way. You got to be
Yeah.
going like 10-8-6-10 in terms of point totals, which I think traditionally the other players are going to be more likely to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, you can have 1/8 place in there as long as, you got, like, another first and another third. You can't be having, like, that 8th, 7th, though, as you were just saying, of course. And, yeah, I was so tunneled on, "Oh, yeah, Wolfie getting second again," but Within actually got first place last week in the same thing, so it's yeah. First for Within, a second for Wolfie. If history repeats itself, Wolfie will get another second, and Within will go 8th, but,
History's not
we'll
very
see.
creative when it comes to Fight Night either. Just so
No,
everyone
it's
knows,
not
right?
actually, yeah.
I would say patterns tend to hold here, which I know is kind of like boring talk, but when they don't, that's when like the exciting things happen. Like we did
Yeah.
get a coin flip situation when it came to our top 4 that time around, and the Mort gods were in favor of our friend Gunmay at that point, but maybe in the future it is going to change. But the big what I want to see from our top and bottom players here right now is I want to see Within not get below a top 4. I want to see if the capability is there to be consistent throughout an entire day, right? And then
Yeah.
for our bottom side players, especially Sonic, it's kind of just like you said, making a mulligan, right? It's just a mulligan. You know what? It didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get crushed so hard, and it almost relaxes you. You know what I mean? Because like the worst case scenario has already happened. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
if that's what you're
So
worried
it's
about and it
like
happens and you're still moving forward, it's like, "Okay, I mean, it happened, sure,
yeah.
like, I'm over it." Yeah, for sure.
Exactly, and so you're probably okay, so, like, I got to feel what it's like to lose, and now I can kinda just vibe, right?
Yeah.
And, that can be very, very helpful when it comes to the mental. I remember, I was in a Hearthstone tournament a couple years ago, and I, lost in the first round. It was double elimination, and I made that losers bracket run through, to semis because I just thought I was I was just playing, you know? It was like, "Oh, I lost in the first round, I'm not gonna have a chance." And
Yeah.
then I just started playing, having fun, and I ended up winning 5 games in a row. So it's one, cool to brag, and two,
Yeah.
it's I think possible for someone like Sonic to do something similar when it comes to that kind of run back. Because I was legitimately 30 times less nervous and more relaxed after getting manhandled on my first
Yeah.
match.
I feel like it honestly sometimes likely to go one of two ways. Either you take it, it's like, okay, worst case happened, I'm over it. Let's just do better, move on, have some fun with it. Or the eighth place just absolutely destroys your mental. It's like, oh god, I went eighth in game one, like I'm so bad, and you just like keep being in your head about it. And hopefully that's not going to be the case here for Sonics. But I definitely know, times what happens to people, and we're in eighth. Like I said, it just kind of destroys your mental. You need to be able to recover, though, especially in a tournament setting.
Yeah, and then
Hopefully that will happen
there's
here.
the Emily situation where it was the game.
Yeah.
Right, and to this day, I'm still looking for a player to have worse luck than she did that day. Um, guys, I actually think the VOD is worth looking at. Like, it was, like, not real what was happening to her. Like,
Uh,
I've casted hundreds of people in my time in esports, and I have not felt that bad for a player. Like like, in recent memory, it was just that awful. The game
yeah.
was like, "Stop playing right now. You're not welcome." And was like, "Here are your eighth places. Have fun." And while I don't think anyone is in that situation right now, it can happen. And so identify when it happens and just try to let it roll off your shoulders as
Yeah.
it's the only way to do it, right? That happens. You can't change the past. So now we're
Hey.
here in the present. We're MrMeeSeeks. Great show, by the way. One of the best episodes of that show. And we're starting off with an Elderwood Chosen.
Yep, yep, that we are. I think Mr. Meeseeks was already kind of thinking about the Elderwood route with the couple of Lulus, and with the Maokai Tom Kento is already on board. But I think grabbing this is going to be, not something you commit to for the whole entire game, probably, but still is going to be a decent early game and actually be going up against another Maokai chosen. That one doesn't have a Sunfire Cape, however, but does have an Aphelios in the background with a Rage Blade. Rage Blade, one of the more awkward items in my opinion to slam early. It's not going to be a huge benefit in the early game on pretty much anybody, but sometimes it will scale decently well once you put it on some better units for it later on in the game. MrMeeSeeks going to win that round 3-0 though, killing 4 units on the opposing side and leveling up that Tom Kench to 2-star. So honestly, a kind of solid board here. Even could level up to level 4. If not that, then could definitely next round make up to 10 gold, holding 5 gold in terms of Mystics on the left side of the bench there. Already
Um,
selling the Yumi, so yeah, gonna be leveling up here.
This is
Preserving
actually
that win
really,
streak.
really tough. I love seeing players work through these kinds of decisions, especially in the early game, where you can kind of go a couple different directions. You don't necessarily have to decide right now, right? So
Yeah.
we get to see like the process. You know what I mean? And we got to see, okay, so we're gonna sell our 3-cost Mystic to try to get to level 4, and so we can get some extra units in. We've got a good item on our Maokai. The Maokai's going to live for a while, so Sunfire Cape is going to be really great in the early game, and you might actually find him topping the damage charts, not because of his spells or his auto attacks, but because of just that natural burn on the true damage. No matter how ironic it is that someone who is a tree is wearing fire. Uh, but it works. It
You
works. Right?
know,
It
it's just
works.
like an aura, and like you're protected from it, but there's an aura around you, and it's like a wall of fire.
Yep.
And one side's like it doesn't hurt you, the other side does. It's one
Sure.
of those things.
Yeah, totally, Crowan. Makes complete sense. I was wondering like if like Sunfire, because in League, if you're wearing sunglasses, Leona does 1 less damage to you.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if like there's like any of those things in TFT. I feel like if like you're an Elderwood unit and you're getting burned on Sunfire Cape, it should be doing like a tiny bit more damage to you or something just for the
Oh,
schematic.
yeah. The only thing that I know was that was coded into TFT. I think I heard it from some developer at one point. But if someone by the name of Reginald and with TSM and all of that, actually Reginald famous for playing TF and sometimes not pulling those stun cards, pulling blue cards, and literally it was coded to where if you had the username Reginald, like Reggie's League account, your TFT TF would only pull blue cards back in previous sets, but no one ever actually found that out because he didn't play TFT and play TF. But someone else said it on Twitter, I believe, at some point later on. I think that was super super funny. So I
Man, I
don't
bet
think there's
more.
anything else like that in the game, but that
Um,
one I think it makes me laugh.
the League developers are cheeky in that way. There's like a
Yeah,
lot of that kind of stuff in regular League. Even like in the map, how like the Gromp eats a mushroom and then becomes a mushroom.
yeah.
That's weird. You really if you like who ate who? Who is in charge in that
I don't
world?
know.
Is it symbiotic? I don't know. Is it like one of those like zombie worms that goes into bugs? I don't know. MrMeeSeeks is going into 2-5 right now.
Yeah.
3-1 is going to be a major turning point for a lot of our players in terms of understanding their actual power levels. And MrMeeSeeks right now is going to be continuing on, I think, at least for a couple more rounds. Once we hit 3-1, this comp is going to struggle a little bit more unless we can get that front line. As we go over to Within, who we have not a Moonlight chosen, but it's going to be a Hunter chosen, Philios.
Yeah, Hunter chosen to Philios. It is going to be a 2-cost chosen, which a lot of people won't have at this point in the game, but it is getting buffed up by that Zeeks on the Elise here. And it's a bit of an awkward board, but just playing to be as strong as possible in this early game. The redemption on the Vayne's a little bit awkward here and might actually make the difference. Well, yeah, I don't think this is going to be a win here. So Within already going to be just buying out the whole bench there. Losing the win streak, though, and on 0 gold, of course, is going to get to 10 next round, but it is quite awkward here. Like, these are the kind of starts that with a player like Within, I'm worried about an 8th place, honestly, even at this point in the game. Like, at this point in the game, the last game, it's like, okay, Within looking like maybe a first, but at this point, it's going to be the other way around. So I am concerned.
Yeah. Um, I am as well. So these early game chosens do matter in terms of if we're going to be win streaking or lose streaking. And I think that the Hunter chosen on Aphelios really early on is really nice. As we don't really have a very good holder for Thief's gloves. Not Thieves gloves. I like mentioning that. Thief's singular glove.
Yep.
And when it comes to the Hunter proc, Aphelios too just doesn't really do that much damage. It's almost like
Nah.
throwing toothpicks instead of actual bullets. We might get a couple units down, but we're not going to be winning very many rounds with this particular comp until we get Warwick and Ash.
Honestly, I was surprised that composition even killed one unit there. It was looking a little rough, but Aphelios narrowly took out the Thresh and Riven cleaned up a couple there, but it's still kind of awkward here. Not even at 20 gold on Krugs. Usually players are between 20, if not 30 gold often at points, but Within, I mean, has the units on bench to sell to 20, but that would be sacrificing a Hecarim pair there. That's not really what you want to do at this point because your front line's looking a little rough. Your Philios has no items here. All right, a little bit of gold here. That's very necessary. But only one item component there. You can't summon any other items either. So Within, still a rough start. But not as rough as last Kardax, though. Last Kardax at 60. We're talking about that last game, just reaching that low on Krugs, and last Kardax has done that. I'd be curious to see actually what last Kardax is running with and if they're on a 5-loss streak, because I think the only reason that it can be okay is if that is a 5-loss streak.
And at like
And they have a lot
50
of gold.
gold, right?
Yeah.
Or I believe the lowest you can be at Krugs is like 56, 58. I know you can be at the 50s because
Yeah.
I was there. rare ones. And so from personal experience, in the labs, I like to say. But the fun thing here for Kardax is we've got a spat, which is either going to be a dead item or very, very helpful. Right now, we're not going to be using it for Sword of the Divine. We could potentially add another Warlord, seeing
Ooh.
what we have on the board right now. And
Yeah.
we're actually totally cool with losing 5 in a row because we're running Fortune Khroen. So we got to
Yeah.
pay out, but we're getting. I'm ready to call the fact that in about 2 HP, we're going to be in Fortune jail, friends.
Yeah, I wonder how long Last Cardex has actually had Fortune in here, because that's going to be so key when and if they're actually able to cash out, and what that cash out brings. Maybe it gives some spats and you can make Force of Natures, and you only have a Katarina 1 right now. The items are okay on the Katarina, but it got taken down last round before it was even able to get that ultimate off in the first. As you said, more rounds lost, it's definitely gonna be feeling like you're in Fortune jail. You need to cash out at some point before Wolves. You definitely can't take it past Wolves. So I think what a lot of players will actually do is, if they get to an 8 loss streak, they'll roll down the round before Wolves to be able to be strong enough to just win and cash out that last round. And it's still so necessary, but it's also so risky as well. Last Cardex is utilizing that HP as a resource, of course, but maybe he has too much of a resource here. People are low if they're 39 HP on Wolves, little on 39 HP on just round 3 too.
This is not going well for
No.
Last Kardex. As we want to be realistic with y'all, right? It's not going well, and it's not going well because of a lot of different factors. Number
Yeah.
one is we're at 50 gold, not because we cashed out. It's because we're losing. And we have 3 fortune, which means that we're invested, right?
Yeah.
We have already lost streak with these fortunes. We've seen at least 3 rounds, right? So we can assume that it might be all 7 when it comes to loss streaking on that fortune. And basically, it's just kind of like you invest all of this money and then that person just disappears, right?
Yeah.
Is what fortune can be, and then you get 8th place. So, and even if you do cash out, even at like 5 HP, then it becomes matchup dependent. You might win a couple more rounds, but it's still not the pillow that you want to find after you jump when you cash out on
Mhm.
fortune,
Yeah.
right? Because when you cash out, you want to be substantially ahead of at least half the lobby, if not more. But even at this point, I don't know if we're going to be capable of getting there, as it seems like Kardex has already relegated themselves to an 8th place based on this. Based on the attitude, when you play
I mean,
fortune, you kind of understand that you're in a crappy situation, right? And
yeah.
you just gotta deal with it and find the fun where it can be, because that's fortune for you, you know?
Yeah, okay, a couple of things here. One, that force of nature is actually huge, because it means that last card X is going to be able to fit 4 or 6 warlords in, with also still running 3 fortunes. You can take the pike out and put that Jin Shao and Jarvan on board. But when it comes to just fortune in general, if you're last card X, I mean, you're just committed, right? There is only one way out at this point, and it is cashing out to get out of fortune jail. You can't leave it if less you cash out. That's going to need to happen to have any chance in this game. Honestly, I wouldn't even be opposed to leveling up to 7 here. And yeah, Last Card X does just that as well. So not only can you put the 6 Warlord in, but you can keep the Pike in for the Assassin. And rolling down here, I guess it feels a little awkward, but finding a unit like Sejuani, that's going to be pretty good. Finding another better unit than Annie as well with the Jinx is going to be really good. You can't fit 6 Fortune in, of course, because you don't have a Fortune chosen, but this round is going to be so key. If not this round, then it has to be next round.
Oh, good
Um,
matchup.
yeah, good matchup. MrMeeSeeks isn't that strong. It is a pretty beefy Maokai though, and
It is a
Katarina doesn't ult.
Katarina doesn't ult. I do believe that we are going to get a couple unit kills. I was saying good matchup just if Katarina ults,
Yeah.
right? We get the Grievous on, and for example, that Naomi probably falls. But the hard thing here is that you want to win at this point. You invest. We invested over 50 gold,
Yeah.
right? We changed all of our units. We have 6 Warlord because at this point, with a Fawn, with a Fawn as well, we could have just won that through sheer numbers,
Yep.
right? And that just wasn't the case because we got a beefy tree who happens to be on fire coming your way. That sounds terrifying. And it's just like, hey, see
Oh.
you later. We're gonna have to try one more time, and we're getting to that point where even if we cash out, it might not be enough.
It all comes down to this round, actually. While last Kardex's HP might not reach 0 here, if it's a loss, it's effectively the end of the game. And the Katarina has ulted, actually. This might be it. It is. It's time. The cash out happens. Last Kardax. You can see the excitement right there because he needed that round to go that way. Unfortunately, ended up selling the Zillion, which he didn't need to sell there if he was going to do that to make Econ. Might as well sell this Katarina as well, but I'm excited to see what this
100%.
fortune cash out does bring because it's gonna make the difference if Last Card X is able to recover or not.
So this is actually really interesting. A lot of people will wait to cash out until after this NPC round, so they don't mess up their items on their bench because you can screw that up. I've been told, and so we'll see if he's going to pick him up right away. I'm just trying to quell expectations that we might not see it immediately as much as we're
Sure, sure.
staring at the money bags. All right, and here we go, friends, and it's just going to be Nico's and two cost units and about 20
Uh,
gold.
Free
It
5
looks
cost
like
units.
three 5 cost units.
Yeah. Azir with the Lilia and the Ezreal and the Nico.
Could be better.
Honestly, that could have been a lot better. One Nico is going to be great if you're able to get one of those units into one of those legendary units into a 2-star, but we don't really have the econ to go level 8 right now. If we do, it'd take all of our money, and the items here on 4-1 honestly aren't great either. Katarina 2 is huge. It is key. We're not running Fortune anymore because we've already cashed out. But yeah, you need to find something right now, like a high roll legendary that you roll on level 7, or another Jin or something. Like you need some way to stabilize right now.
Yeah, I think rushing to use a Nikos here is not a bad idea.
Yeah,
And
you kind of just need
we're gonna
to.
see it exactly. And tier 2 Jin is gonna be stronger than a tier 1 5 cost unit. And
Hmm.
so instead of wasting money for a maybe, right? Especially
Oof.
since the that's unfortunate, especially since the
Yeah.
rolls haven't been incredibly favorable for last Kardax. I like the decision that we made here. Awful Katarina ult as well, but it might not matter in the
Okay, it's a win.
okay, okay. It's going to be a win as Sonic is going to fall, but that was real close. Closer than Kardax wants it to be. Is
Yeah,
you did just end up cashing out on Fortune. You want that advantage.
definitely. You got a couple of, or one upgrade there with the Jarvan, a pair of Sejuani's. Yeah, the Jin got taken out so fast that fight. It was actually crazy. And it's unfortunate there because that can't happen. Like if that happens again, that very rounds could have very well been a loss there. You need to reposition to protect that Jin a bit more. I actually would probably like to see another Sand Soldier protecting it too, or another unit on one of the sides of it. Like I mean, solo having it in the corner there is so risky, especially if you didn't scout. And last Cortex didn't scout there, just moved it last second, and yeah, it just gets Zephyred there by the great Zephyr usage by Mu too.
And 70% of the damage, the general DPS damage, was gone. Without
Yeah.
Katarina, he loses out. So like this is just one of those situations that's like, yeah, he won, right? But in another situation, another environment where things might be a little bit cagier, that could have gone a different direction. You want to play as perfectly as possible, right? You want
Yeah.
everything to be on purpose. And as of that round, I'm not sure if that is the case for Kardax. We got Zephyred, but we also got no CC on the Katarina. We don't even have the QSS on her, so she's vulnerable. It's all about just getting to her and
Yeah.
getting the CC on her, because without that, then it's going to be all up to that Jin, and if that Jin is Zephyred, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, maybe gonna get a QSS off this next carousel round if Last Cardex prioritizes a cloak. It has some potential there. I think that'll actually be huge. Katarina needs to be able to go off in these fights if Last Cardex is going to be able to win. Tried to position the Jin there, but actually I think that was a ping diff there. It wasn't able to get that off. It might not matter though, actually. besides for just a little bit of keeper shield there. But the Jhin still is relatively safe in this round. But yeah, the QSS not being on the Katarina, she's getting CC'd out of her mind right now. Finally ults though.
Ooh wee.
And when she does, yeah, the rounds is over.
And it's really this is fascinating because that was up against a couple vanguards and that Jhin was doing nothing, and so you've got a different type of damage coming from the Katarina that just chewed through them. But again, if there was someone strong enough to get into the back line, it doesn't seem like a bunch of people or it doesn't seem like anyone's really running Diana or Kane right now, so the Jhin can feel moderately safe just in general, as I actually
Mhm.
don't see any Moonlight comps through that scouting. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the only assassins I see are Katarina right now. So, I mean, that's the only thing that is dangerous to that Jhin. So, once we do get the Canes, once we do have a couple other units that can get into the back line, we might see some more intentional positioning with the Jhin, but maybe just understanding the macro and seeing, there's not really a ton of threats. And if my threat gets taken down, I have a secondary threat that doesn't seem to be getting taken advantage of either, as of right now.
Yeah. So I'm kind of confused right now. Last Kardax definitely misplayed there a little bit, and it might not be huge, but definitely missed out on 2 gold, grabbing the 3 cost cloak instead of the 5 cost cloak, because there was at least something in the carousel as well. Maybe I just didn't see it. I don't know. It happens sometimes. And it wasn't a Katarina though, so I was like, maybe you're good for a Cat 3, but no, there's like no way you're doing that at that point either. But putting in 3 cultists right now with the Zillion, using almost all that gold to level up to 8 as well. Tried to swap the Jhin again, but actually didn't get it. Another ping diff. Let's see if it matters once again. I'm feeling deja vu right now, Boop. But
Yeah, I think Kardax is actually in a pretty good spot, and
yeah, it's fine.
while the fortune payout wasn't best case scenario, it's
Definitely
brought us
not.
to this point in time, and that's just how important gold is. I know a lot of people want items, a lot of people want units, right? But those units mostly turn into gold. We got 20, 30 gold on the cash out, and think about having to make that money through round wins instead,
Yeah.
right? And so that gold just so important. We haven't lost since then. As we're going over to Wolfey, who I believe is wearing green in front of a green screen
Yeah.
right
That's
now.
what it looks like a little bit at
Yeah,
least.
so he's fine. He's not leaking. That's not blood. That's just him and his shirt, and I guess the Pokemon power seeping through. But
Yeah.
Wolfie's going to be playing another Warwick Con. This is the second game in a row.
Yeah. I think I actually saw on Twitter Woofy won some Pokemon thing like within the past
Yeah,
week.
it's like the Pokemon thing in the
Oh, it
last.
was the Pokemon thing. Okay, I'm not like well versed in the Pokemon scene, but I saw he won
Yeah,
something. I didn't know it was like
yeah.
the big
This is
thing.
Pokemon VGC 2020 champion, I believe.
Oh,
Wolfie.
okay.
Yeah,
Pog. No, I mean, we always reference the fact that, Wolfie is a multi-game competitor, and not only a multi-game competitor, but a multi-game, like, victor, champion, be it. Wolfie having a bit of a rough game here, history not looking like it's gonna repeat itself for these Fight Night week-to-week performances, as, Wolfie has a pretty similar transition when it comes to the amount of 1-star units he has, but the thing is, Wolfie has a lot less HP, and a lot less time because of that to stabilize here. It's looking like he wants to go Warwick once again. There is going to be a Force of Nature on the bench and a Cloak and a Rod that are pretty lonely. That Cloak wants to be a Quicksilver for the Warwick. You have a Nico as well. This next roll down is going to be so important for Wolfie. Is going to have just about 25 30-ish gold to roll with. Oh no, look at these items. You see Wolfie's reaction to
awful.
probably the items
Awful.
there as well. It's so bad. Like
Yeah.
Declaw Warwick, I guess. Like I don't Ionic Spark set. It's a set too. Cool, great. You gotta play a Divine Chosen Lux. Like it's not the worst thing in the world because you do want the 4 Divine, but oh man, it's still very awkward. Like you gotta sell something and keep rolling because like this is not strong enough.
Yeah, we got set 2, thank goodness gracious.
Yeah,
And at least we get some value out of Ionic Spark, while set is in the game.
sure.
Maybe I don't know, maybe putting on the Yone might have been a little bit of a better option, but we at least have
Yeah.
Deathblade Hurricane on the Warwick, and
Yeah.
that is not going to get bursted down, so we might have gotten a potential round win just based off of the power level of these units.
The
Yeah, I think
Zezrot needs to die? Okay, good.
we're fine.
Okay, still kind of close there, but yeah, Wolfie, very excited about that round win, and you know you kind of gotta be because it's at the point of the that was actually a
Oh, it
fortune
was a
cash out.
fortune! Why
Ah,
are we so bad at that, Khroen? Every time, it's like it's invisible, and look how much better this one was. 3 Nico's helps, by the way.
yeah,
3 Nico, so that's
that's oh my
those
god,
are
I'm so mad at myself. That's
me
like the
too,
second week in a row where I just missed the player at this point in the game having fortune in.
yeah,
Yeah. But,
it was
either way, that is huge. It's going to be a Ezreal 2, Yone 2, and still, unfortunately, just a Warwick 1 in the back line there. But no, this is huge. This is exactly what he needed to come back in this game, and it's now looking a lot more winnable than it was just a few moments ago.
that was an enormous round. That
Yeah.
is what fortune is all about, ladies and gentlemen, and that is how you develop a gambling addiction. I have to preface, um, because that was awesome, right? As a as a viewer, as a player, right? That's what we live for when it
Yeah.
comes to TFT, and that will bait you into making the wrong decision 10 other times. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that in a vacuum, the way that Wolfie is playing right now, that fortune pick is absolutely wonderful, but was literally on the last round possible. Probably should have switched out of it rounds beforehand,
Yeah.
as we got down to 15 HP. And it's so interesting. We have, our items on Warwick, and we got, I think, 3 Nico's helps total on the bench, and none of them go towards that Warwick. That's just how good legendary units are right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, you can't fault that. It's gonna be easier to also eventually find the Warwick too, versus finding those legendaries at 2-star. And we see the impact that they have right there. I mean, Ezreal, I think, actually was the top damage dealer in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. There, the set kind of got bursted down a little bit, and the Yone did a decent amount as well. But no, I mean, now it clicks why Wolfie was so excited for that round win. I was like, yeah, Wolfie, all right, pop it off, you know. But no, there's definitely some warranted reaction there. We have a couple eliminations so far as well. Sonics, once again, 8th place. Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. So it's the
Yeah.
latter of what we explained last time. Sometimes you're able to come back out of it. Other times you just do the same thing again, and then you just
Yep.
start having even more fun a little bit later. And that's when you start becoming like the troll of the lobby.
Mhm.
Hey, do you want to see what this looks like in competitive TFT? Well, let's do it. I believe Gunmay did that the last time he was playing on set 3 when it came to playing Space Jam against Timo, which you just
Yeah.
like couldn't do. As we're actually going to try to compete for a potential second Yone. We're actually leaving the Talon. You can actually see
Yeah.
the head shake there. I don't know where you would even fit it in at this
Talon
point.
Talon sucks. Don't
Yeah,
play
Talon.
Talon.
Yeah, don't play Talon. I want Talon to be good for some reason, and I think the only way to make Talon good is what Mort joked about online, which was making him a shade.
Yeah.
So I think that's how we make Talon good again.
Oh man, I remember saying that. It was so funny. And we get to see as well last Kardax and their progression over the course of this game as well, because they were in a kind of sticky spot, but they cashed out Fortune as well and have actually gone on a win streak here. This is going to be a close end of this round. The Gen 4th shot's coming through. Doesn't take out the set though, so it is going to be a round win for Wolfie, and that's so key.
Oh man, Wolfie is sweaty, sweating it out.
Yeah,
Right. I almost went into like gamer lingo there, and I stopped myself.
you just cut it off. Just
Yeah, exactly. Like we're working. But
yeah,
Wolfie is, I mean, he's doing really, really well.
yeah,
And it's so anxiety inducing to be in the position that he's in right now, which is I actually might have one of the strongest boards in the entire lobby, but I also only have 15 HP. And the rest of the lobby is really low, which means that the lobby might go at least 3 to 5 more rounds, which is going to give more time for these other players to get just as strong as me. So when
yeah,
I win, I want to win as dominantly as possible, because the more he eliminates now, the less he has to worry about later. Yeah, that's obvious, but at this point in the game, Mutu is going to lose a lot of health, right?
yeah.
And
Oof.
and now Wolfie at 15 HP is in second place. Like that's how important
Oh.
every round win is at this point in time.
MrMeeSeeks going out in 6th, and something we didn't actually talk about just yet, but within Went 7th right now, so the first or 8th place style. It wasn't 8th place, but it was still close. MrMeeSeeks again in 6th, but this lobby is so close. This game is not going to go to stage 7 like we saw in the previous game. There, people are much too low right now. The damage is coming much too quickly, and I think it's because while people might be strong, like Wolfey right now, they had to sacrifice a lot of HP and just narrowly get their fortune cash outs to like just scrape on and get to this point here. Wolfey's saving up for level 9. Or gonna roll down. Okay, there's one of two options: either saving for level 9 or rolling for Warwick 2, and it looks like it will be a roll down for Warwick 2 here. Only one more remaining to be able to get that tier 2. Hopefully it will grab it, because if not, that'll be like 50 wasted
There
gold.
is.
Okay, yeah, it does get it. Sells everything else instantly. And now the only real thing that Wolfey can do is at this point level up to 9 to get stronger.
So we have three 5-cost tier 2 units. That Ezreal is going to be doing a lot of healing, and everyone is in the corner right now where Wolfey is going to be a little bit more spread out. Plus,
Oof.
that D-Claw might end up being the saving grace against these final couple lobbies, because there's a Katarina and an Ahri comp, and Gunmay is going to lose brutally to this Bill Gates comp, as Riku is going to get eliminated by
Oof.
Mu2, and so that is going to be another elimination. Riku having a little bit of a tough day, as Mutu is going to sneak in to the top 4 at 3 points.
Yeah. Looking over at Gunmay. Gunmay running Vigar again. This board doesn't look strong. It's so weird to me, actually, because the board that Gunmay snuck into last 4th last game, honestly, I could look at that same board on like someone's lol chest and see an 8th place and be like, yeah, that checks out. 7th place, that checks out. But he managed to scrape into a 4th, and he managed right now to scrape into a top 4 at least once again, if not stronger. I guess you have 6 Mage, 4 Dusk in here. Your Riven's going to be, some okay front line with a couple of, or one tanky item, one pseudo tank item, but like even still, Gunmay is making it work though, so I can't really like fault it, and I want to keep seeing the success of it. It's actually be taking out Mood 2 here. That was probably the best matchup Gunmay could have rolled, and gets rewarded. Maybe even gonna place second, and yeah, one of these players is likely to fall here. Wolfey, okay, not actually falling. 2 units remaining was not enough to have an elimination there, so he does survive for now.
Ooh, 6-3 pre-carousel. We definitely are going to get an elimination within the next 2 rounds, potentially a lobby win within the next 3 or 2 rounds. The thing about Wolfey is Wolfey's comp doesn't really get stronger until he gets an extra unit at 9.
Yeah.
No one has gold. Everyone is poor. And we've got 2 fortune players versus a mage player, and this D-Claw that was just kind of a consolatory item
Yeah.
for Wolfey might end up actually becoming a huge deal. As if Kardax gets eliminated here, I believe the Wolfey matchup against Gunmay was very, very friendly. So Wolfey is definitely rooting for Gunmay in this situation.
A small thing that Gunmay did there, which I actually dislike a lot, is he put his cloak onto the Riven there. It's not going to make the round difference there, and unless you're going to be getting a specific other component to create that, like maybe he's going to go for a D-Claw or something of the sort. But okay, which he will be going for, but definitely would have waited to see if he got a better full completed item there before slumming that item. Did get lucky though, so never punished. This lobby though is super close. It's probably going to be ending in the next 2 rounds. Yeah, it will be ending the next 2 rounds. Actually, I don't think there's a way that it cannot. How are these players going to position at this point in the game? That's really all you can do right now is just focus on your positioning. Maybe you got some last second upgrades to get, but the amount of gold you're going to have right now is going to be, or should be, near 0, because one bad fight, and well, I guess not for Wolfey. Wolfey can't really upgrade anything, so just needs to try to go for level 9. Besides that, though, not too much players can do right now.
So Gunmay at 6 HP, I believe, is going to be facing Wolfey's Ghost, which is correct. So we're going to have a Wolfey versus Kardax potential elimination match. But I think at 14 HP, that is probably going to result in an elimination. Not a ton of damage on this Ahri, and is actually going to whiff on the Warwick in the back line, and that Hurricane is going to actually kill him in the end,
Yeah.
as Wolfey is going to at least get second place, and
Wow.
Kardax will actually get first after
Oh.
investing over 80 gold and no, investing over 80 HP and hundreds of gold probably to finally cash out on Fortune,
Yeah.
and got one of the more underwhelming Fortune cash outs that I've seen, but it was only underwhelming because it didn't have a bunch of components. It was mostly money, and that ended up helping him win in the end.
That game ended rather abruptly, and I haven't quite fully processed. Like that was honestly such a weird game. We saw the two Fortune cash outs get to top three. Gunmay actually ended up getting second there over Wolfey. Gunmay had -10 over Wolfey's -13 there on that final round. But Kardax, that Fortune cash out was, yeah, as you said, really underwhelming. I honestly expected less Kardax, half expected him to still maybe even get a bottom four, but no. Ended up econing up, rolling, getting Katarina 3, sticking with those Warlords, and had, near perfect items Katarina, and ended up working out there. No one else was really quite strong enough. Like, Wolfey was strong there at the end, but it still just wasn't quite good enough there. Looking at the scores here, man, these scores keep getting closer and closer with just everybody as we reach further on in Fight Night's, history here. Wolfey at 15, Gunmay at 14.
What year is it?
Within and last Kardax is 12. MrMeeSeeks and Mutu at 10 points. Sonic's rough start, but still a couple more games to go.
Yeah, and with something this close, like you never know, Sonics might do the full run back and win 2 lobbies and finish in the
Yeah.
top 3, just like Within pretty much did last week. So Within, I believe, having almost exactly the same day as last week.
Yep.
Love seeing the consistency of players like Wolfey and Gunmay, especially Wolfey, as Wolfey is a newer TFT player. Got on the kind of the train a little bit later than most people, but now is up with the rest of them, and that's so cool to see.
Oh yeah, I feel like when we saw Wolfey in their first couple of fight nights, it would be at the halftime point near the bottom-ish of the lobby, but now Wolfey topping the charts here as we're at our halfway point, and this might be the week you talk about it. Wolfey getting better and better. It could be the week where Wolfey's able to walk away with a win. And yeah, talking about the scores just briefly, once again, they're very similar to last week. Within getting 1 placement difference than last week, Wolfey getting 1 placement difference in game number 2 than last week as well. And I mean, it's still shaping up in the day for some really, really good competition. But we have to wait just a few more minutes before getting back into the swing of things. Got a quick 5-minute break. But once we return, we'll see who will be victorious for this week's Fight Night Rising. Stick with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fight Night Rising. We've had a couple of really, honestly, interesting games so
Yeah.
far, I would say. Not quite what I personally expected coming on in here, but the results are the results as of right now. Actually, if we could take a look back at those scores to really just, set the story, set the tone for how this has gone and where it needs to go for some of these players. And Wolfey in first place right now with 15 points. Gunmay just narrowly behind, 1 point behind with 14. Boop, what are your takeaways from the first couple of games here?
So I think the pacing of these first two lobbies was odd.
Yeah.
When it came to when people were hitting power levels, particularly in that second lobby because of the fortune cash outs, right? So, like, say, you're going through the lobby and you're like, oh, Wolfie, Kardax, they're not doing that well, and you take like the macro approach, and you're like, okay, so they might get eliminated in a couple rounds, but then all of a sudden they fortune cash out, and everyone's on even footing again. Right? It's throwing a little bit of chaos into what's been consistent. And I think that for that second lobby, that definitely contributed. On the first lobby, it was really slow going. I believe we got to 7-1 on that lobby because
Yeah.
it took people a long time to get to a specific power level that Within got to so quickly on that first lobby. So that's kind of my take on the situation. It's definitely not as, you know, usually our first lobby is one of our strongest ones where people are, going after it pretty hard. But uh, as for today, in terms of pacing and where we're seeing certain power spikes, it has been very different than what I think one would expect due to some fortune play.
Yeah, at least what's on my mind right now going to game three is number one, the performance of Riku, I think has been, not to what I was expecting. I think Riku is going to need to, shape it up in this next couple of games to be able to get at least into the top three. I mean, I guess it's possible technically for Riku to still win, but nonetheless, definitely an uphill climb. Gunmay has had a lot of success so far with mage composition. I guess mages did
Yeah.
get buffed. Maybe Gunmay has been cooking that one up. He does generally like compositions, as we were saying earlier, that aren't necessarily the strongest, but he's able to play them very well. And he's definitely been able to play them really well the past couple of games. So look at these boards, and I think, hey, if I was running that, or even honestly, a lot of other people I see run something similar to that, it's like, okay, a bot four for sure, but Gunmay is able to pilot it into a fourth place and then into a second place in the last game. So Gunmay, while it might seem weird, is playing it very, very well, and that's definitely the Gunmay of old that I loved competing against and commentating. Like it's very, very much so. Like yes, I like this. I'm a fan.
Same, man. And the thing about commentating Gunmay too is sometimes these weird comms win,
Yeah.
and they come out of nowhere. I'll never forget Gunmay playing Battlecast for one of the first times in that set and crushing it because that makes sense. Right? Gunmay playing Battlecast, for example, on that last set, which feels like so long ago.
Yeah, true.
But now we're kind of seeing the adjustment with the Mage comp, and we've not really seen this Mage comp ever. In at Fight Night, Fight Night
Yeah.
has been very Dusk and Warwick, and when Talon was good, like very traditional with some variety within the top four. But like the top four were usually these things. When it comes to Gunmay, I mean, he's pulled off some crazy stuff. So
Oh yeah.
you can never count him out. And the fact that he's in second right now, I believe, is
Yeah.
or first or
In
second,
second, yeah, 1 point
um,
behind Wolfie.
is actually a little scary for the rest of the lobby. But it's gonna be all up to Gunmay to see where he's gonna go for these next two lobbies because again, he does have a pretty first or eighth style. I mean, we used to see Gunmay drop down to like 40 HP and then win lobbies back in the day, right? And
Yeah,
that actually happened in our first lobby today. So Gunmay's still in this, and that's cool to see
definitely.
one of the old guard come back and continue to find success where it was a little bit of a struggle when we got out of retirement last time. As we're going to go over to Mutu, who looks almost exactly like one of my childhood friends, apparently. And
There you
we'll
go.
see how this is going to dude, this is freaking me out, man. Joseph, if you're out there,
Still
I miss
work,
you,
still
buddy.
work.
But like, but anyway, Mutu has had a pretty good night so far today. Been very consistent, in the middle of the pack, and a top 2 here could set them up really, really nicely for a top 3 finish.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot riding on this game, the momentum that you get into game 4, and just the kind of the wiggle room that you are going to give yourself is going to be huge. Starting with a tier, as a lot of players like to do nowadays. We've talked about it a ton. Tier is one of the very, very flexible items that give you such a huge early game that pivots into a lot of different good things. Chalice being probably one of a lot of players' favorite items when it comes to this early game. Not going to be potential for that yet from Mu 2, just the components for a static Shiv. But this Vanguard Garen, or Vanguard Chosen Garen, is going to be snap picked up from Mu 2 here. It's going to be pretty solid, I think.
It's probably up there for most consistent early game chosens.
Yeah.
Like I think Yasuo is up there in terms of success. Like you know what you're getting. Like chosen, I think Vanguard Garen is like getting vanilla ice cream, right? It's
Yeah.
it's
I,
very obvious. I think what you're walking into. You know its
yeah.
weaknesses. You know its strengths. Nothing's gonna be surprising about this Garen.
No, I definitely agree with you there. You're gonna go sometimes into another chosen, like say like Nidalee, and it's either gonna pop off and wait around or do nothing, right? But Garen's going to be a lot more consistent, something like that. And I like the pickup. I think it's pretty safe here. And if safe is the route that you want to go for game 3, I don't dislike it. Get a consistent top 4 placement if you're going to or continue to run with that kind of a thought process there, and just set yourself up for a non-stressful game number 4. 6 gold there picked up from Mu. 2 going to be buying up most of that previous shop and buying a lot of this one too. Puts in another Warlord. Has not the option for vanguards either, so just gonna level up and play random units. Okay, actually it does put one synergy in here besides just the chosen with the enlightened there though, and I actually like don't hate this. I think Janna is really we've seen Janna do a lot of work in the early game. I
Yeah,
referenced Emily earlier and
poor
the amount of
poor thing,
unluckiness
man.
she had, and it was at
Jesus.
the back end of facing a lot of those Jannas, so gonna be
Yep.
pretty valuable in the early
It was
game.
p particularly this Janna Fiora combo.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, again, just go watch the VOD, it's insane. Um, anyway, so Mutu now, and I expected this, right? I expected this Garen to win out. It's just there aren't that many units this early on, outside of maybe like Kindred, some itemized sharps, maybe an itemized Yasuo that can consistently pull that Garen and
Yeah.
cause some round losses. And like if you're trying to climb, right, as we see a second one on the board, if you get offered a Vanguard or Warlord chosen Garen before your PvP rounds, take it. I mean, you're probably going to be fine. You're
Yeah.
probably going to be able to play the game that you want to play. You might not be getting any extreme advantages, but you're also not going to be having many extreme disadvantages either.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Coming to this round, going up against Sonics. Sonics is coming off of a couple of eighths, so maybe it wasn't the talking about mindset that okay, I go eighth, whatever. I'm just gonna chill and have some fun. Maybe it was a little bit of getting inside of your head, and going double eighth there. That must at that point have a much more effect, I suppose, on the mental, but still only room for improvement there. A couple of eighths means that if you get at least a seventh, you're gonna be doing better. But of course, that's still not the goal that you want to reach for. You want to be able to make at least top 4 here if you're going to want to have any chance of scraping into a third place or fourth place to get in the money.
Um, I'm actually really excited to see where Mutu ends here because
Oh,
the players who kind of stay in the middle of the pack tend to unleash in these like next 2 lobbies as they've been kind of biding their time. They're kind of like the lion stalking like the prey,
Yeah,
right? It's like they're all there, but you don't really know exactly who and where they like exactly are. And I think Mutu is kind of playing that stalking lion right now. And when you're here, you're not really seeing him pick up those Garens because we're probably not going to see a tier 3 Garen today. But the big thing here is that, like, all right, so we're already winning. We need to keep winning. We've got the units to do it. We've got an item to help us out. And
yeah,
if we're able to continue winning to this NPC round with one less item component than everyone else, then we're going to continue winning most likely.
yeah.
And you have to invest in that. So I was actually watching someone play the other day, and they were like, "What do I do here? I've won, 5 in a row. I'm at 50 gold. Do I just chill? Do I spend gold? Do I not do anything because I'm already winning?" And then they lost that last round, and then never really recouped that momentum, right? So
Yeah,
you have to be active in your decision making on whether you're losing or winning. We saw the loss streak earlier with Gunmay to work out into a second place. Right now, we're going to see the win streak, and Warlord Vanguard is one of the more obvious choices you have in terms of early win streaking comps.
definitely. Mu 2 even leveled up to 5 before the stage 2 carousel. That's something that I personally dislike doing. I'll rarely ever do that, but there is room for it. It is still going to be very, very good. Not only does it give you better shops, even if you don't pre-level, but full level, you're still on level 5. It's going to guarantee, or at least have a much higher chance they're going to be protecting your win streak. And as you just said a moment ago, protecting your streak at pivotal points in the game is so important and can make a difference between going sixth or going like third, or winning a game or going third or something like that. So I do like it if Mood 2 is able to win out the rest of stage 2, but that's going to be a little bit iffy right now. I think actually the Garen will be able to clean up here, but it was really close, honestly.
Man. Okay, so we have a really great example of how to play the early game, right? We have a
Yep.
lot of really interesting decisions that have to get made as the hoodie is off, folks. The
Oh.
the hoodie is off. We're taking it seriously. And the only reason why I remember is because I thought the hoodie was awesome and I really ask where it's from. But anyway, we're gonna do some Wolfie sweating
Yeah.
right now for Sonic, as we're doing much better already than we have been in these previous games as we get all brawlers in the front line.
I feel like maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like when we looked at Sonic's game of Run, Sonic's just like smiling, having a good time. But now Sonic's looks like so serious. The hoodies
Yeah.
off, the hats on, just like the scouting, everything was so just like in the zone. It seemed like right there. And honestly, it goes a long way in showing perspective into a player's mental, and that's going to be really important. We see even the decision making when it just looks to what's happening on the board here. 4 brawlers, 3 Elderwoods, a very solid early game comp here. You're not going to stick with that for the mid game, but it's going to be netting you round wins right now. The Sunfire is a good slam right there as well. You get a Vygar to put in for the third Elderwood over the Lulu. Sure, that's great. You even have an option on your bench right now in terms of sharpshooters. The question for Sonics, I think, is when you get rid of this Maokai and when do you roll? Like, how long can this bring you? And I think it's going to be up until Wolves, but it's going to be losing some of round 3 as well. And it kind of, you have to be stuck on an awkward game plan where you're rolling on level 7 and praying you don't have to roll down too much in order to get you strong enough to go, later on to level 8 and hopefully 9, though.
Hmm.
We'll see what Sonics actually commits to, because honestly, from this route, it might be something like a Warwick, though. It's super early to say. It could be Dusk. It could be a lot of things. I don't think this comp is strong enough to get Sonics to just that early legendary point, though. There needs to be another transition before that if he would be looking at that for the future.
I totally agree with you. The thing about Sonic's comp that is very important for him to realize is there are going to be some comps at this point in time that he is going to beat just based off of the attrition
Yeah.
on the HP, particularly on this beefy boy and Vi frontline. And so, like, particularly this one might be a little bit harder because we got percent health on 2 different units, but they're still pretty squishy. And we've got the Viger in the back line as a little bit of a secondary carry. And if the Kindred jumps any closer to the Maokai, or this Maokai just kind of stands there for the rest of the round, he should be able to take another victory. And so now we can start thinking about items, right? And it's so funny
Yeah.
seeing pros look at items, because it's like when it's late at night, you want to eat something, and every time you open the fridge, you want it to be there, and it's just not.
Yeah.
And you keep going back, and you're hovering over these items. But we've got a Hodge, which is a good item, but not for anyone on this board, right? We've got IE, we've
Yeah.
got Last Whisper, we've got RFC, we've got Shojins, but nothing really seems to be best in slot right now, as we're just going to go ahead and get a TF item carry instead. One of the better
Yeah.
options in terms of item carries, but still not best case.
So, you talk about items here, and these are so important. And I think Sonic is going to be kicking himself for not making these items a turn before. He could have put them on anybody, and it would have been a round win there, preserving the streak, preserving more HP.
Mhm.
But now you're trying to play reactionary as opposed to proactive, and that's not really going to be working out for you, I think. And it could have lent itself to have just a stronger board in this round as well, because being reactionary, it's like, okay, you rolled down a bit, and what do you have to show for it, right? You're still losing rounds. Maybe you just want to even go on a full lose streak now. So at that point, you might as well just commit it to not making items and sacking that HP right there. You're not rich right now, only 20 gold after rolling down on 3-2. It's still just going to be an awkward spot at the end of the day. You took out 4 brawlers here in favor of 3 mage. Sure, 3 mage is good and all with the TF, but now your front line is going to be significantly weaker. It just really, honestly, just like awkward here for Sonics in terms of the timing of how everything happened. The game is by no means like doomed or anything like that. Like there's still a lot of room for recovery here. You're just going to need a lot of specific things to happen right now if you're Sonics, and mainly because of the gold being so low. Looking at Mood there on the other side of the board, at least 40 gold on the bench there.
Mhm. I don't know if you saw how clutch that Lulu ult was, by the
I
way, but
didn't.
TF I think was gonna die, and then Lulu ulted, and then he barely lived. And so
Oh,
we
fuck.
did a good amount of damage to Mewtwo, who had been crushing it in the early game, but now is losing. So decided to not, because that's the thing again about Garrett, is you can push really hard, get to that like 8-9 win streak, hit wolves, and then deflate or continue pushing.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to happen. So Moo is going to be taking the other approach, which is, all right, this Garen's going to take down some units. I might win, I might lose. But again, I probably know where I'm going to be in 5 rounds.
Hmm.
We're going to sell this Garen most likely in the next 3 rounds or so. So that kind of consistency and safety is going to go out the window in 4-1, because if Mewtwo wants to compete for top 3, we got to finish in the top 3. And so we have to adjust accordingly. We're not quite there, but we're very close to the edge right now,
Yeah.
as Gunmay is going to be actually in first place right now as we check the leaderboard.
Yeah, Gunmay keeping on doing pretty good. And okay, I was just about to comment on Sonic's positioning because I didn't think it was actually that great. It left the TF very vulnerable. Now TF honestly is still gonna be kind of vulnerable, but a little bit less vulnerable than previously. Going up against within this round, who is level 7, 30 gold. Pretty solid there. The Pike is going to be dashing through the TF and stunning. TF only gets 1 set of cards off there before he gets stunned, so actually is going to cancel the second from coming out there. And that might make the difference in this round, honestly.
That
We'll
clutch
see.
Nami bubble as well, but this Hand of
Yeah.
Justice getting more value than it has any right to. And we'll see if this Viger is going to hit the right unit, and it does. If I believe if he ults the Elise, Kindred gets 1 more ult off, and looking at how
Oh,
much
oh,
health
man.
that Viger has right now, if that Kindred doesn't get ulted, I believe he loses that round.
Yeah, that's so fortunate for Sonics right there. You need to, I think, win this round though if you're gonna recover that econ. Gunmay still win streaking, has some moonlights in there, and you know who also has moonlights? Riku on the bottom side leaderboard right here. So top and bottom both running Moonlights, but Riku gonna be a bit worse off for where it seems the front line isn't quite there. There is, however, 2 Nikos on the bench here. You're 1 Lissandra away, and still 6 Aphelios away, but I actually don't dislike the position Riku's in all that much right now. I'd be curious, as we stick with Riku's perspective here, to see when exactly he decides to roll down and how long it takes Riku to get that tier 3 and then, because of Moonlight, tier 4 Aphelios.
Tier 4 Aphelios. What a terrifying proposition.
Mhm.
As Riku is going to be running it back on this Moonlight, which is this is the issue with the comp, right? And if you read
Yeah.
FaZe's Giant Slayer article, they say exactly this, which is it's inconsistent.
Yep.
Right. And it's inconsistent. It was very consistent last week, right? Getting, I believe 2 first place finishes. But this week, I mean, this is what can happen,
Yep.
right? Sometimes you just go to, you go play TFT and it's just not in your favor. And we have 2 Nikos, which should help. But
Oh, yeah.
we're going to do it naturally for the Lissandra, and we're going to be so far away, like you said, for the Aphelios, even with the 2 Nikos available, which you want to potentially save for either a 4 cost or a 5 cost unit a little later on once we hit some legendaries. But I would not be happy to be in Riku's position right now. The dojo is probably going to need to do some extra sprints tomorrow if this continues.
Yeah, it's not the worst, I guess, because you're gonna have decent econ to go level 7 next round. You're still gonna have good odds to hit the 2 cost there for the Aphelios, but you're also gonna be able to get some more units in and just some better front line. You're already gonna be winning rounds as it is right now versus a tier 2 Ashe. So that's going to be super, super good there, right? Like you need to be winning these rounds when you're at 48 HP just after Wolves. Wolfey actually at the very, maybe Wolfey's in like Fortune Jail again. I don't know. I'm actually curious to check that out in a little bit here. But yeah, this Aurelia is actually going to be huge. It's going to provide Enlighten, it's going to provide Divine, and it's just going to be a unit that you have to go through in the front line in order to buy time for the Ophelio. So I am kind of liking what we see here from Riku. It does come down to how many rolls it take you to get this Aphelios 3, though. And you only got to find 2 more, or excuse me, 4 more Aphelioses, and then you have 2 Nikos in the bench to finish that off there.
I think I like Aphilii better. For the plural form of Aphelios, or we got to be like Aphelios.
Yeah,
But we've got a pretty stacked Jin in the back line from Mutu, who has completely separated themselves from the Warlord comp pretty much, and we've moved over to Sharpshooters, which is another pretty inconsistent comp, which also has lost most of its power by this point. So basically, Jinx, Teemo, and Nidalee have all passed their prime. Pretty much around here. The only one that can
yeah,
really take you into the late game is that Jhin, and the Jin's only tier 1, so we got to get it to tier 2, or else it just doesn't work. And it's a contested unit too, so that can be a little tough to find. But if you're Riku, we've won 3 in a row. Thank goodness. We're at
yep,
40 HP. We have solidified and we're actually chilling. We're vibing right now. It was
yeah.
looking pretty bad earlier, but with the way that the rest of the game has gone, the lobby, Sonic is in first place. We've seen that comp. It's a pretty strong comp, but no one is running away with this right now, even though our top 4 has a little bit of HP separation from our bottom 4.
Yeah, Gunmay is just playing strong board right now. Gonna be level 7, 50 gold, playing a Diana with an IE, a death cap, and a bow. I guarantee you, if you look at just like stats and like the most unusual or like least frequent item pairings, like it has to be that, right? It has to be up there. Um, it's just gonna be the item carrier though, and it's gonna be pretty solid. You get some auto attacks in with the assassin. Diana spell gonna be doing a bit more with that death cap, and Gunmay is just slamming items that he has, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's actually preserving as much HP as he has right now, even if the board looks a little rough. Wolfey losing round after round, though, is actually on 7 HP. I'd really like to go and look at Wolfey's perspective after this and see kind of how he's gotten so low so fast, because this is okay. We've seen Wolfey go low HP quickly, but it tends to be because there's fortune. and he always finds a way, it seems like recently, to get out of Fortune jail, cash out, and at least salvage like a top 5. But yeah, Wolfey looking pretty rough though.
Yikers. And this is unfortunate. Like, I want to see Wolfey find that kind of similar success as they did last week, which was a very consistent day overall.
Oh.
As we have switched over to our regular green screen background, and we get to see the full effect of the shirt. They don't look
We see
like
that. It's like tie-dye.
they don't look like bullet holes in like Samurai Jack or
Oh, yeah.
something or something like
Yeah.
that.
What was Wolfey rolling to look for there? I already hit. I didn't see the full thing there. Okay. Doesn't have. Oh, maybe it was just 6 warlords. It doesn't have 6 warlords. Has Katarina 3 though, and he has fortune in. We're not gonna miss the fortune this time, Boop. Fortune is in. Wolfey's looking for the cash out and
That would
might
look
get it this round.
close.
It looks like.
Yeah, it really looks like we're getting it this round, especially since Gunmay was playing best in on board and is now suffering because of that. Basically, Gunmay is playing like almost just a purely econ game at that point, which is let's get our money going. 2 tiers, a force of nature and a couple 4-cost units. So the force of nature is kind of nice. It's an extra unit. We might not have to invest in an extra level at this point in time, but we don't really even have enough space on the board for our friends right now. So we'll see what goes in for our 7th unit. And it's going
Okay, 6
to be
fortune is
Warlord.
there.
And so 6 Warlord, 3 Fortune, and and
Yeah.
that Assassin Chosen. It's going to be all or nothing. We're going all in on this Katarina.
Yeah. This is. It's strong right now. If the Katarina ults well, there is the Aphelios from Riku there, and it takes out the Katarina, and you see Wolfey's expression right there. And yeah, that's gonna be it for game number 3 for Wolfey. Oh man, positioning diff right there. He is going 8th, and so we
It's a
talked about
little bit of a
history repeating
paradox
itself.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, talking about repeating itself. Wolfey had a poor placement last week in game number 3. It wasn't quite an 8th place bad though, but it was a 5th place bad. Um, and we kind of see it here once again though. But a bit unfortunate, but it happens. Still one more game left though. Wolfey was the lobby leader when it came to points in the day coming into today. Not going to be that case after this game number 3 though.
That's going to make that lobby 4 all the more
Oh yeah.
interesting, as this Moonlight comp has not lost since the last time we checked in. We still have everything available from
Yeah.
when we last checked in, as
Going back
well
to it.
as an extra spat. So we could do Vanguard, we could do Sword of the Divine, or we could do Duelist. None of that really. I guess we could do Sword of the Divine on somebody.
Yeah,
Um,
possible.
yeah, on whatever 5-cost unit, or see, but the sword could potentially go into a GA instead. It might find a little bit more value there. Very interesting that we didn't pick up any of the 5-cost, that we didn't even pick up the cane, just in case we want to double Nico's it. I know that's not best case scenario for the Moonlight comp, but it was level 7.
Yeah.
So
It could have made like Divine Cane had like a Titans on it. I mean, it's kind of awkward itemization. I think Riku is really just, I dare say, tunneling on this Aphelios for Aphelios 4. Like, it's going to be key to win the game, right? But we're on 5-1. We've hit a break point where like, people are going to be rolling down, getting a lot stronger. Riku rolled a little bit, but not nearly enough. I think Riku kind of has to roll down right now. Below 50 gold to find this Aphelios 4. You just need at least one more right now. That Ezreal I would have picked up actually. You can run it over Lux right now for Dazzler, and you don't have 4 Divine in either. I guess you're gonna want 4 Divine in though. Another
oh, we got
Aphelios.
it. Okay, so we're
Okay.
we're definitely gonna get Aphelios. We're not even gonna mess with it.
Yeah,
We're just
just
we're just gonna double Nico's and save
yeah.
the money.
I like it honestly. I think it gives you the much needed time and saves much needed econ to level up to 8. And that's going to be when you put in either some adept or more hunters. Like the Ash is already on the bench right now. Same with the Shen. Oh man, the Ash rolled healing on Hand of Justice, and it just tanked at Aphelios. Oof.
Hunter versus Hunter. Wait, that's an anime. Isn't it? I don't
Yeah.
know. I hear it's good.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
I I have no idea. I've only watched Dragon Ball Z. I think is like the only anime, and
Oh, really?
Digimon. Probably well, Digimon and Pokemon are probably like the only like true
Yeah.
animes that I've consumed. I like started Attack on Titan and Full Metal Alchemist, and I really liked them, but then I just stopped watching. They're just some of those shows. Anyway, I was just proud of myself. I understood the Hunter x Hunter
Yeah,
reference that,
yeah,
that
no,
I
it's
accidentally made.
I haven't watched it either. It's been highly recommended to me. Maybe eventually I will. But that's what we saw right there, and it's kind of what we're seeing again here. At least there's Ash is on both sides of the board, Hunter's on both sides of the board here, but Within is going to be playing that Nami Chosen, and that's what's gotten Within to this point of the game, right? Where they're able to be level 8, still 40 econ left. The Nami's still gonna be key in getting you time to get things like a Yone too. Within actually embodies first or eighth so well, and like oh man, it's actually such a treat to watch within these games because not a lot of players are able to play that playstyle as I guess like true to its nature and as effectively as Within. Last
Mhm.
Kardax also dropped the last round in seventh place.
I would say Asian Gamer is probably the other one that I think of that does this.
Yeah,
For with it, but mostly the tanking aspect, right? Like per lobby, right? You'll see Asian Gamer hit 8th place, 17 HP, get Z3, and then get
yeah,
second, right? When it comes to Within, it's like the opposite. We win and we tend to stay up there. Um, and you're totally right. It's really cool to see these players embody that first or eighth because a lot of people say it, right? It's kind of like when someone says they've got moxie. No one really knows what moxie is, right? And first or eighth, I feel like has a little bit of that same vibe. Like, what is that feeling? Well, it's what
yeah,
Within is doing, right? The way that they play, it's the same thing as high risk, high reward, or feast or famine, right? And Within knows and lives by it. It's stressful. I'd lose weight probably if I played that way. But some people really thrive in that environment. It's the same people who like love working in startups and yeah, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And,
yeah,
like, kind of
yeah.
like that, risk type of atmosphere that like doing stocks and, play craps and stuff like that. And I think that we might actually be seeing someone like that when it comes to Within as this Aphelios is going to win out finally on another round on Mutu because we got Aphelios 4 and then lost 2 rounds.
Yeah. Last couple rounds, because there's at the point where everyone is spiking as well. Riku is in kind of honestly like okay, the board's good, but it's still kind of an awkward state here, right? Because you have two Sword of the Divines, and that's great to get to up to that 4 break point, but it's a little bit too hard to get up to that 6 divine break point without dropping very good synergy and a very good unit there. So, but taking out Warwick also feels awkward because Warwick is a divine and a hunter, and hunters are going to be super good right now. Going to be part of the reason Aerophilus is doing so much damage. But the spirit is okay. Actually, the kindred goes in as the third hunter replacement, but yeah, not putting the Warwick in is going to be the lack of a potential 6 divine and a 4 hunter. 6 divine is I guess out of Riku's reach right now without being able to go level 9. Riku had the Lee Sin as well and actually sold it. Gonna be losing this round as well to the same Ash I think as we saw it lost to just a few rounds earlier.
It's the difference between a 2 cost unit and a 4 cost unit, friends. With Giant Slayer against Moonlight, and so at that point too, if that Ash rolls lifesteal, it is pretty much going to win against 85-90% of team compositions if Ash aggro's a good unit first, and you can start cutting through that health at the very beginning of a round rather than say Zed gets in the back. Remember this, and Ash would attack twice, then he'd shade out, and then she'd just look around, right, and not hit anybody. So it's really up to Ash and kind of like the AI that's a part of it to do its job. And when it does, it's going to be very, very difficult to overcome that itemization, even if you're a tier 4 Aphelios.
Yeah. Definitely getting a bit of a lull in the action right now as players are facing against that neutral minion. Riku getting a Frozen Heart, not great item, honestly. The option for Lee Sin has been presented once again to go for that 6 divine. Don't think it'll come through there. Yeah, it gets sold. So does the Warwick actually. And ooh, do you sell? Okay, yeah, Riku. I mean, you're on 1 HP, right? You need to be as strong as possible going into this round. Pros aren't going on the Shen. This is about as good as it's gonna get for Riku's composition.
Pretty much a loss is over at 10 HP. Gunmay at 16 playing that best in slot composition. And we'll see if Riku is going to be able to take down a Sonikzo who has had the best game so far. And it's another Ashe with Giant Slayer, Rage Blade, and Hand of Justice. But this is what I was
Yeah.
talking about in terms of that focus fire was not there. So now that Ashe is going to fall instead.
Yeah, Ash is gonna fall this time. Aphelios being the hero, being the carry of the team. Sonic's in a much better spot though, actually. They went fast 9, rolled down. They didn't quite hit too many things, however, though, but I guess still have some time. And okay, now we're seeing Within going to level 9 as they do like doing a lot. Not a lot of gold to roll down with though, only I believe it was like 19 or something there. Still rolling. Hits Warwick too. Not bad. Still has to put one more unit in. Looking at the synergies here, nothing really jumps out as you need it, so could just put a Kayn or a set in there, and it's going to be the Kayn. Going to want to get progress into transforming that Kayn. Gunmay actually did go out in 6th there, though, so that transition from his part was not what it needed to be.
Yeah, this this Nami is not even at tier 3 yet. And that is going to be an issue once we get a little bit stronger in these. Actually, we're at 6-2, so the fact that it hasn't really been that much of an issue is actually pretty crazy. But we are going to lose out on this round. There's no way we're going to beat that Jin as an Azir. We lose, but that's okay. We get to Econ up. We get some extra money from that 4 loss streak, and we get to roll down at max level, potentially get 2 or maybe 1 extra 5 cost unit. Doesn't
Yeah.
look like we can. Oh, we can finish a Kayn now, and we can finish a
Okay.
Azir. So this is
Yeah.
going to be really good in terms of Sand Soldiers being quasi tanks in the front line. We're going to continue to get progress with that Kayn, and if there's anyone who I trust with this Bill Gates / legendary comp, it's Within, who
Yeah.
is a master at this particular comp.
Mm-hmm. Definitely going up against the Aphelios there, I believe Riku's composition. And yeah, the problem here, the Nami is just kind of a transitional unit. You're gonna want to get 9 and find legendaries, find your carriers. Yone 2 is there, but like it's still an Ashe 1, right? Ashe 1 cannot step to an Aphelios 4. It's just not gonna happen. So within taking another round loss there, dropping to 5 HP, within even could go bottom 4 here. As much as I thought Within was gonna for sure top 4, if not, go for first this game. I guess the lobby is real close though. Look at the
Yeah,
HP, like 12 in first place and 3 in 5th place
it.
here. So just a 9 HP gap between first and 5th, and anyone could be eliminated in this next round.
At least 2 people will be eliminated based off of these HP totals and the fact that there are 5 people.
Yeah.
So this is also the other really insane thing about it is that it's 6-4 and we've got 5 people. So that means everyone has been trading wins, and we followed Riku for a good long while, and that's exactly what happened, right? We had Aphelios lose against 2 Ashes, we saw him win against an Ashe, and that kind of inconsistent win-loss record is going to affect the HP of the lobby
Mm.
overall. We have Mutu on fire, though, at 8 HP. Curious to see what they're running. We do find the Kayn too, but we're going to be running with 1 less unit.
Yeah.
This is the thing about the legendary comp. This can happen. It's
Uh,
expensive, but we gotta get our items on, my friend.
I like
Oh, we don't transform our Kayn?
Yeah, no, that's you don't transform the Kayn. That's such a huge like misplay. Of course, you're thinking about like how do I make this happen right now? But yeah, I mean, Within must be kicking themselves for that one. Hopefully, you win the round either way. And it looks like it's possible for this round to be a win for Within. The
Well,
Warwick's actually is doing so much work with the Ash Shield back
yeah,
to
that's what I'm about
full.
to
Oh
say.
no! Honestly, if the transformation happens, I think it would have gone the other way, Boop.
Yeah. Maybe. We will never know
Oh
because it
no!
happen. So we level up to 9. We invest all that money. We don't transform our Kayn after getting Kayn 2. It was on the bench the whole time, and we just forgot. I
I
think that
mean,
I
yeah.
there's no real reason to hold on to that at that level of HP at the current kind of lobby that we're in right now, because this lobby is separated by 9 HP right now, right,
Yeah.
total. And so you need to be as strong as possible, and Within just didn't do that. Missed
No, I mean,
opportunity, that's gonna hurt. I'd be very curious to see how he does next game based off of what
sure.
happened.
Definitely. It's so like oh man, I can sympathize with Within right there because I feel like I've done a very similar thing before. It's like you're trying to do so much in one turn. You just got to prioritize things that need to happen. And one of the things you need to prioritize even faster is that Kane transformation. Sonic's had a good run this game, honestly. Very, very well played comparatively to the past couple of games. Getting a third, I think that game was solid through and throughout. We're down to our top two though for game number three, and Riku at the top currently. This Moonlight composition, which carried Riku really, really far last week into a win, is going to be doing the same here, at least for game number three, it looks like. But MrMeeSeeks is going to try to contest that.
I Is there a way to, so this is the second lobby that's hit 7-1. We're going to get a third lobby to hit at least 6-5, right? And so with the games lasting so long, what is one of the best ways to kind of avoid this situation where everyone is running these legendary compositions? If we could just speed up the game a little bit by doing a lot more damage earlier, we might end this a little bit earlier at a different kind of power level. Is that just not where we're at in the game right now? Is just the game lasting longer? People are better, and so we're hitting these 5 cost units so frequently?
Yeah, it comes down to how everyone approaches the meta because you can't speed up the meta with just yourself, right? You need everyone, or at least like half the lobby, participating in that to speed up the meta. If you're the only one chunking people, it's not going to make the difference. There's still going to be enough people alive and healthy enough when we get to the end of the game to go into stage 7. So it's kind of just a meta diff right now. People are greeting out a little bit more, and we see multiple people in these games going with legendary compositions here and not rolling down at 4-1 and power spiking and everyone's chunking each other so we get faster games. Like, that's not happening here, and Riku actually does fall there, so we
Why?
get MrMeeSeeks with the game number 3 win here, and that's going to be huge when it comes to the scoreboard. I'm excited to see where everyone's at after this because there is a lot in
I have
that
no
game
clue.
that we got to unpack.
Yeah, that lobby ended up, I think, finishing almost completely opposite of what a lot of the other lobbies
Yeah.
have finished with. I mean, starting at the top, going right down to the bottom with Wolfey. And so we are in for a treat when it comes to this last lobby. We'll get the scores up for you in just a second. Here we are as MrMeeSeeks has
Oh,
jumped into first place with Gunmay in
yeah.
second, and then three-way tie for third between Wolfey, Within, and Moo. 1 point away from that is Rico. 2 points away from third is last Kardax, and then Sonic still not out of the running either. And could
Yeah.
potentially sneak into that third place if the world goes into his favor. I believe it's almost impossible, but not impossible based off of that 7-point performance.
Oh man, this is very, very interesting. I dare say 7 people have a chance to win. I actually don't know how mathematically this works out. Staring at it, I'm not gonna try to figure it out. But all I know is looking at scores here, Boop, this is so, so close.
So close indeed. This is exactly why we're here. And the fourth lobby is this is it, right? This is a different environment. I say that all the time. And so when you get into this fourth lobby, your mindset, in my opinion, has to change. If you're
Yeah.
MrMeeSeeks, you were not in this position last round. This only happened because Wolfey, I mean, honestly, straight up threw on that last lobby, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so we
Uh,
got that 8th place, we got the fortune payout there, and we're kind of just living too much on the edge, right? That's like there is an episode of Futurama where Zoidberg goes to Vegas.
mhm.
I've used this before, and he bets everything on red or black, I forget which one, like 7 times in a row. And wins 6 of those times,
Yep.
right? And everyone's like freaking out, and he's like, "Oh, drinks for everybody," and then he does it again and loses it all. And that's almost exactly what Wolfie did on lobbies 2 to 3, right? We
Yeah.
we we got the taste of the fortune payout, I think, in lobby 2, and we were seeking it maybe a little too hard in that third lobby.
Sometimes you gotta know when to call it quits when you're gambling, and that applies just as I guess just as accurately into playing fortune, because if you run fortune every single game, sometimes it's not going to work out well. Like you may cash out, sure, but maybe the cash out's bad. Sometimes you get stuck in forced jail for the whole time. You don't even get to cash out. It's just so risky. And if you're able to play it well, I think Wolfey is more often than not, it's going to be good. So I guess if you're averaging, over the course of a whole tournament in 4 games, you're still going to be, being able to top 4, top 3, even to be invited back. But maybe it's going to be a bit riskier when you want to go for that first place, go for that victory.
Totally, and this is gonna be where you take your risks, in my opinion. If you're gonna be taking that first place risk, you're in 5th place right now, and you're tied at 16 points, for example. You gotta separate yourself somehow.
Yeah.
And playing like you've been playing the rest of today might not work. This is the other thing that always rings true in this lobby. Almost, I think, 8 out of 9 weeks. Whoever is winning coming into this last lobby does not do well in this last lobby, no matter who it is, whether it's Numano or I like hobos, right? This last lobby is
Yeah.
kryptonite to whoever's in first place. So definitely look at MrMeeSeeks. I think it's that kind of like nervousness coming into it, like I can win this thing, right? Like don't mess
Yeah.
up, don't mess up, don't mess up, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Um,
It's
yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say it's almost like easier to play from like second or third
right?
because like like where you kind of have to place and you have like a very set specific goal that you have to get to. But if you're leading, it's like okay, maybe if the second place person does bad, I just need this placement to secure it. But a lot of times it's like you don't even want to get in your own head about it. You just want to be like, okay, I'm just gonna play my game, like not even look at scores. Honestly, half the time when I hear TFT interviews and we go into like, oh, did you know like you needed this amount of placement to win the game? There's like, no, I just went into the game being like, I'm just gonna play the best that I can, even still. And honestly, like maybe sometimes it's bad, but honestly, I don't even like dislike it half the time because
Mhm.
sometimes you're gonna psych yourself out. It's just like, no, go into
True.
game 4, play as you've been playing, right? Because you got to this lead, you got to
I
first
think
place for a reason. Just keep it
I
up.
think we fall on 2 different sides of the sports coin, I
Sure.
think. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all about let's let's make this my fault, right? If I win or lose, it's my fault. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And I want to control that.
Yeah.
Um, as opposed to, I think, the other side of the equation, which is I've been chilling, right? It's been working
Yeah.
so far, and there's no reason to change anything because I've been consistently playing. I'll let other people, um, make mistakes
Yep.
and take advantage of those mistakes rather than setting the pace. Because the thing about coming into anything in first place, whether you're setting pace in the Tour de France or you're setting the pace in a marathon, you're probably alone. There's no one in front of you, right? And so the only people you see are behind you, and that's going to be nerve wracking, right? So I think if you're coming into this in first place, the mentality or mindset should be, I want to continue being in first place. But if you spend too much time looking behind you, they're just going to catch up,
Yep.
and that's the balance that you have to maintain if
Yep.
you're MrMeeSeeks in this particular lobby.
Keep looking forward. You gotta do it. When you got someone in front of you, sure, you're looking forward. You're looking at them. That's where you gotta get to. But if no one's in front of
Exactly.
you, it's like, oh, the temptation to look behind you is there. No, I definitely get that. Let's see what sights MrMeeSeeks has going into game 4 here. It's gonna be with early Vanguard and Dusk for now. No chosen hand of justice was slammed. Level 4 was slammed as well, but still going to be losing to Gunmay's 4 units right there. Gunmay slamming the Chalice. Very strong start there. We have a Moonlight Silas. That's kind of interesting. Um, for Brawler, perhaps, actually, if the Tom Kench is grabbed.
Yeah, I mean, the Moonlight is for I mean, when you pick up the Moonlight Lysandra, for example, it's for the
Oh, yeah,
Aphelios
yeah.
or it's for the Diana. And so this is just gonna be a more tanky, less damage-oriented situation. And this might actually work a tad better with Aphelios because you get a little bit more of a front line,
Yep.
as opposed to like a Lysandra who's like a quasi tank. Just has like a lot of numbers. Same thing with Diana, right? In terms of that HP. But yeah, MrMeeSeeks now in last place still, and seeing a Kindred on the other side is actually a little terrifying. Has, I believe, the highest base spell power of all the 1 through 3 cost units in
Yeah.
terms of their ultimate.
Yeah, I believe it's 450 damage base on that Kindred ultimate. Have a Deathblade there as well, just to get that power and auto attacks as well. Now Nephilios is grabbed, so we get some Moonlight action. I wonder if MrMeeSeeks is going to consider going for an Nephilios for a composition here with just this opener. You get to level up to 7 a bit more freely because you don't got to worry about finding 1-cost units and still being able to get your 3 Moonlight buff online. You're just going to be trying to find the Silas's and Leophilios at that point as well. I mean, Hand of Justice, a good Aphelios item. I think it should at least be under consideration for MrMeeSeeks here.
And what we haven't seen from Gunmay, for example, in that last round was direction, right? When it came to the team comps, and there's obvious direction when it
Yeah.
comes to this team comp, either on the chosen or on the item. So, and that Hodge can go pretty much on any auto attacking carry a little later on too if this ends up not working. So we're actually we're vibing with this comp right now.
Yeah. I saw them scout out yet another Aphelios looking board there, and they typed out in the in-game chat there, Aegon TF concern. And I'd be a bit concerned if I were MrMeeSeeks too, going Aphelios and having it be contested there, because that's what's going to cause this kind of fourth game curse, this kind of fourth game kryptonite here, and perhaps falling a bit short if the Aphelioses are too hard to find.
Man, it would be. I mean, this would be like the 5th or 6th, the different person to fall victim to this fourth game curse too.
Yeah, there's been a
And
lot.
so, I mean, there's got to be something there, and I'd love to kind of maybe sit down one day and really like figure out what is happening
Yeah.
when it comes to the mentality and psychology, because it's got to be mental more than anything else, right? It's not like we're all on standing desks with those treadmills on the bottom getting tired playing TFT. It's got to be all mental, and mental fatigue in this game can be insane. And
Oh yeah.
so very, very curious to see the reasoning behind the frequency of why we see it, because it's not just here either. I see it in other TFT tournaments as well. Not the 3-game tournaments, but the 4-game tournaments.
That fourth game, it's just at some point after 3, your mental is just like, woo, it's just out
Yeah,
the window,
yeah,
or maybe
exactly.
other factors as well. But no,
And
I definitely, yeah.
I think we have to, now that we're here on this fourth lobby, say goodbye to some champs, because we won't see them again most likely. As I'm assuming the new set thing should be out maybe by the holidays.
Yeah,
Because that was kind of when it came out last time, I believe.
I
Was
think so,
around
yeah.
like summer break, right?
Around that timing, and I think, what was it, 20 champions are gonna be rotated out?
20.
And yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. It's gonna be really, really fun though, hopping into when we get there, set 4.5. And I'm personally looking forward to that a lot. But for now, still on set 4, still with the units that we know and love, and it's gonna be for Within here. Not okay, will be with some cultists. Or just selling to get to that 20 econ breakpoint, but you still want to go on a loss streak, so you're gonna position, not like fully trying to win here, but even if you do, the composition's probably just weak enough to lose. This is the very first Wraith play that we're seeing from Within, which makes sense. You're gonna be able to, or you're gonna need to pop off though at some point. You're using your HP as a resource for the early game, of course. Dropping to 66, not the worst. It could be lower, as you've said you've got it to the 50s before, but still, it's very, very low, and
Yeah.
30 gold, kind of the minimum point that you want to be at this point.
Mhm. I was straight open forwarding though, and had lost to an NPC round.
There you go.
So, hey, and guess what? I won that game anyway. Which is, this was during like the 4-1 roll down, where like the early game was all about like you know what I mean,
Yeah.
right? Where it just kind of like worked out that way, and I lost to Krugs and the second NPC round, and I won.
Yikes.
Which was like, for me, which was like, should I send a message? Um, but it's just like was one of those situations, and because of where I'm at in my rank, I think it ended up working out. But it was actually a pretty crazy game. I ended up being able to roll with Fortune there at the end, and I just pretty much got my legendary
Yeah.
comp online. Which could be the same thing that Within is trying to do. he might as well be full open forting
Yeah.
at this
I
point and econing at this. You know what I mean? Because hey, if we econ and we just don't put all our units in, we have 50, and we probably lose by the same amount. Outside of maybe the Evelyn execute, which might help with some HP loss.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at this board state here, there's like one thing on my mind, and it's Dusk. I think a Bramble right there on the Elise, a Deathblade on the Kindred, and then you have the Spat to go for a Dust Spat eventually. I think that's by far, at least in my mind, the most appealing route to go here. Within is not going to go that route though. Very much, I think, just has the legendaries on his mind, and I think we see that with the choice to slam the GA. GA being a really good item for a lot of those legendaries. Kane being the one that, of course, comes to mind first for me. GA, still not going to be bad. You still can GA like a Jin or something of the sort, even maybe a Riven if we're going the Dusk. But you go to 3-2 and you roll down a little bit right now, at least once. See if Within chooses to roll a bit more, but is going to instead just take the Dazzler Chosen Lux and probably just call it a day. Try to econ back up.
Dazzler Chosen is one of the better kind of. I need to just even things out. Right now, you're taking away the AD. That's a little bit of a misnomer. You are decreasing the straight AD of the auto attacking units, or really every unit, but especially against this particular comp, it actually might end up being the difference between losing by 4 units and in a couple units.
Yeah.
We got to get our ult off, and it's gonna be pretty big. It hits the back 2 carries, and we get the Viger ult. So we are actually feeling okay about this.
Yeah, the loss isn't going to be by too much here. The Riven will, however, survive, so losing to 2 units. Riku there, okay, makes it 30 gold. I was actually a little bit curious because Riku's comp looked like not too strong for only having 20 gold there. Within making 30 once again here, wants to put the Aurelia in for the perhaps Divine. Can't quite fit it in though, it's still running 3 cultists and 3 mage.
Yeah,
I'm
a
curious.
lot of mages today, man.
Yeah, the mages are interesting. I kind of like at least from what we've seen so far from Gunmay, how mages have performed, but it's definitely still worth testing a bit more, or at least worth just like me seeing more of before I make a definite conclusion there. Wolfey on the other side here has a chosen kindred and a cat arena too at this point. They have only 20 gold right now, so I believe did roll down a bit to get there. And honestly, I've been a bit rewarded for it, I think.
We love, man, Wolfie loves Katarina.
Yeah.
It seems, I believe, playing it for 3 games now, and Katarina
Yeah.
has probably been the unit I've been seeing more and more of. It's just like it's almost like a 50-50 on whether she ults or not. And one that's entertaining to watch as a viewer. It's kind of like Ari Spirit Bomb when you're running a mage comp,
Yeah.
right? And that's your carry. Like it's entertaining, but at the same time, it can lose you around, right? So that's kind of like the give and take on the balance side of things. And I think the reason why Kat is finding herself in a lot of early game situations too is just if that ult goes off, it enables the rest of the team. It's not just Cat either,
Yeah.
right? And so you're applying the Grievous, you're doing a ton of damage. If you have a Gunblade, you're healed up to full already, and you get to do some auto attacks to finish things off. And that's a good deal when it comes to Katarina. You are going to kill a unit in the early game if you ult, and so you just gotta make sure she ults, and then you're probably chilling for a lot of that early game. It is a little bit more of a gamble and not going to be as consistent, but if you're already kind of like a Moonlight player, that should not really be that much of an adjustment for you.
Yeah. Definitely. Just man, looking at Within's HP right now being at 36, that's a little bit yikes. You have some direction right now though. Dusk, it looks like, is going to be the transition for Within, as there is a GA blue buff on the Riven. Cassiopeia has been found as well. But the Riven items are a little awkward, honestly, and no Jin items here, no Rod for the Dusk Spat, and we're just going up against stronger compositions here. The Lux nearly actually takes out the Aphelios, but Aphelios survives, and Within's going to be taking another huge hit. Okay, Lux nice a couple other units. It's kind of just stemming the bleeding here, but still 28 HP, and we have another round to go before Wolves.
Tis but a flesh wound.
I mean, yep. For now,
I
until it
know,
gets
right?
infected and gets fatal, and you're out in 8th place.
Yeah. But 28 HP at 3-6. Hey, at least we're still here.
Yeah,
Uh,
true.
is that's when you're like, I'll take my participation award, thank you. And you're okay with it. And Within knows that this might happen. They've obviously played this way
Yeah,
on purpose, right? We've seen 2 weeks of this now, and it's been exactly the same over 2 weeks. So that is the thing that worries me for Within right now. The Dazzler Lux, if it wasn't for this Dazzler Lux, we'd be losing by even more,
yeah,
as we were able to snipe a couple units, and we might actually have done enough to snipe another one. Nope, not enough HP. So
close.
we lose to 2 units again, 22 HP. We reach NPC. We'll hit 4-1 at 50 gold on a 10 loss streak.
Hey, Boop, if it's something to keep in mind, right, from this game, if history repeats itself, as is, the phrase that's kind of the theme for tonight, Within should go first place this game.
It's true. It doesn't look like it. If I were a betting man, I would say I
What?
appreciate your moxie
But
as we bring back that term again.
alright, alright. This is gonna happen, right? Within's in the spot where you have to unfortunately roll down on 7. That's kinda rough in this meta,
No,
kinda,
I
but
so
okay, a Rod comes here in the okay, no, never mind.
oh,
Everything's
no.
doomed. Everything's
Everything's
doomed.
bad.
Unless you roll like a dusk or just something chosen dusk. Okay, another
Okay.
Riven.
Alright, we're fine with the Chosen Kindred, at least for the time being, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
gonna be putting some hunters in as well.
ooh,
Uh,
okay, so I'm gonna talk about mouse movement because I haven't yet today.
yeah, go for it.
So
Perfect time to actually.
right there, friends, is
I do it.
no intention whatsoever, right? Yes, TFT does not require high APM, right? But it does require intentional movement. And you can learn so much by how a player moves their mouse in terms of their confidence level. And Within had no clue what they, what they were doing there based off of how that mouse was moving, right? Hovering over certain units, changing some of them and just not really committing. Didn't ever feel like they loved this chosen kindred, but was just what we had right now. And it showed in the way that we played as versus this right here, right? Which was before that, which is so much more intentional. This is a game plan. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is something that is familiar to Within, and we're okay with running it this way. That last round was not the case, and we're at 17 HP, so we cannot be making mistakes like that because of the type of game we've decided to play. A mistake like that is going to be way more consequential for someone like Within than someone like Mutu at the top.
Yeah, there's even some more hesitation here if we talk about mouse movement. It's just Within's an awkward spot where they can't fit everything in that they want right now. They can't fit 4 Dusk in or 2 Sharpshooters. They have the Kindred to kind of stabilize here, but Kindred's also taking away spots from your other units that you want in right now. And actually, Riven's going to lose to because of Fiora is sitting there reposting her. And you don't want to be losing to a Fiora chosen at 4-2 if you're Within right now. That feels so bad. But, like, what else do you do, right? It's like, okay, you can take out the Adept, with the Aurelia, but Aurelia is, like, one of your main frontline units. She's pretty good right now. Your backline, though, it's just rough. Like, I think after this round, you have to just sell the Kindred and just roll and go all in, right? I honestly is kind of surprised that Within's like not all inning right now. You're on 10 HP, right? Like you could lose before the stage 4 carousel. And that's like so crazy to think of actually.
Our mental is actually pretty shot right now. If you're Within, I can tell.
Yeah.
Not just the mouse movement. It's just I think it all probably stemmed from that NPC round and only getting 2 chain vests, right? Like we could
Yeah.
actually be in an okay position, but we decided to play in this fashion, right? And so again, every one of these mistakes that we make is 80 times more consequential. And this Kindred should and Riven should be fine.
Yeah.
Look to your left.
Where'd the
Lulu, just
Riven?
Riven. Oh,
Oh, there she is.
oh yeah.
Riven?
There's that bug where if Riven ults while she's knocked up,
Yeah.
stay up until the end of the cast. It like codes similarly as Nami's bubble, I believe. when they get lifted up. So that's why you're seeing it. My favorite bug in
Yeah,
the game is when things get taunted on the bench. For some reason, that makes me smile and makes me happy. Like it's like the "you get him." It's like the moral
yeah,
support coming from the bench. But yeah, that was odd. But we won. If we're within, and that's great.
yeah. I think my favorite's when the little legend gets, like, knocked up by a unit ability if you're just running around the board, like, during the rounds, like, if Jarvan comes through, like, the little legend actually will get knocked up. But either way, Within here gets the Dusk Spatula. So you can fit one more of those synergies in. That was so hard to get. And not only is a Dust Spat's going to be there, it's going to make a Cassiopeia too, and the Dust Spat pops off there. So that was actually such a huge carousel pickup there. You also can go level 8 and fit in another synergy, like perhaps a Sharpshooter, but no, going to be putting in just the Hunter right now because we do have the Kindred that we're running with here. Running 2 ninjas, which is kind of awkward, but, like, it doesn't really matter. Those aren't the
Stats
units
that
that
you
can be, like,
lose.
carrying. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the stats that you lose on Kennen and Shen specifically aren't that bad.
No.
Like if it's Zed, then yeah, you're screwing yourself over, right? Because you need that auto attack damage. But with Kennen and the ult, and with Shen just needing the taunt and being the beefy boy in the front line, then you're probably feeling okay. As within level 8, living on the edge, my friends. And I guess the next step would be getting rid of our Spirit Chosen.
Yep.
Once we develop a little bit more economy, we have some options. We're picking up potentially another Ash. We're doing a little bit of scouting before we commit to our Hunter build. And right now we do see someone with a tier 2 Ash. That was Sonikzo, but that was it. So I actually think that we could compete as someone already has their tier 2 Ash. But we're going to keep it on the bench for now.
Yeah. This is just looking at this board and kinda analyzing it just a bit more, I kinda dislike it. I think these are some pretty bad Riven items when the focus right now is the Riven. These are items that you aggressively built, right? And
Hmm.
usually in Dusk compositions, as DQA, who's arguably the best Dusk player in the game of TFT,
17
right?
years old, by the way, I found out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Crazy.
DQA very,
Anyway,
very young
yeah.
and so good at the game. But yeah, anyways, DQA will prioritize building items for either like Jin or for like Kane, and just Riven gets the leftover items. There's no like perfect Riven items. She just is there as you just offload the stuff that you can't put on anybody else, right? And if that's a Sunfire, if that's a Bramble, if that's Blue Buff, like cool, right? But you never aggressively try to go for that. But because you do that, it's a bit worrying, at least from my perspective here. Looking at Wolfey, it's as expected, honestly. It's the transition at this point of the game to go to Warwick and have a lot of just one-star units in there, though. But the thing is, Wolfey's low HP, and from this board state, like, Wolfey is probably not top 4ing, unless he gets really lucky with this roll down. Level 7, only 16. Okay, now 20 gold, though.
We hit
Like,
Econ
1 Warwick?
ish.
Yeah,
We're gonna put RFC on Warwick, Warhodge,
sure.
RFC. Yeah.
I
We're
probably
is we're
yeah.
to go. Ooh, there really isn't really anyone to put Hodge on.
I mean, it's like Morgana, I guess, but
Yeah.
even still, it's awkward, right? Like,
And I actually love it when we do this, Crone, because what we're talking is exactly what Wolfie is thinking.
yeah.
Right? Most likely, because like, yeah, you could put it on Lee Sin or not,
Uh,
and we're
okay,
gonna
this
put
might
the
honestly might be
crowd
better.
on. I do like this itemization better. I was talking about the Hodge based off of the popularity of it, but
Sure.
again, like we almost didn't get the value from that due to our lack of decision making there. We do have a couple stacks on the Deathblade, which is great for the Warwick one, but isn't great for Wolfie in the end. We do get one more round. Someone kind of, I think, knows what's happening, looking a
Yeah.
little bit dejected. We have to find Warwick. Without it, I don't. Without it,
Yeah.
but we also don't have a chosen, so it's like it doesn't seem like we get to choose. We get to have a chosen, or we get to have Warwick. It seems like.
Oh, no, selling a Morgana too. That's oof. But I guess you
So
wanna keep the Ezreal? I
yep.
don't know. I mean, selling just everything to try to find some upgrades right now, and there's just nothing here.
That's a GG
Tier
there.
down on the Ezreal, yeah. I actually I think I would've liked to see RFC, Lee Sin, Hodge, Warwick, and blue buff on the Lee Sin as well. I think this item combo is actually like really, really good. Lee Sin actually is going to be huge. Going to be kicking off the enemy carry there. So perhaps this will be a round win,
Oh,
which Wolfey desperately needs.
oh, thank you to Lux as well. A
Yeah.
beautiful light binding into the back line. Oh no! And because of the taunt, is that enough to delay this Warwick before they turn around? It is not, as Wolfey. Look at the roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
The Pokemon 2020 champion
True.
is going through right here at TFT Fight Night Rising in our last lobby of 2020. Goodbye, Ari. Goodbye, these other units. We aren't going to see you again this year, most likely, but we do have to finish off this particular lobby as we actually see the Silas get carried through into the late game. 37 HP for Moo at 2, but it's Kardax that has almost, that is double the HP of second place right now. And Within
Yeah.
died, 0 HP.
First or eighth? It's going to be an eighth, though, this time for Within, unfortunately. So history did not repeat itself. Boop. Something that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, it doesn't always happen here. MrMeeSeeks, though, still needs to try to finish in that top 3 to make sure that they finish in the top 3 for the lobbies. This
Yeah.
isn't going as well as it did the last round.
Oh,
We're going to go ahead and leave a couple goal.
okay.
Soon. Gunmay gonna give Wolfey another round. I mean, I guess it's the season of giving, friends. As Wolfey survives, Gunmay 2 HP, Wolfey at 7, MrMeeSeeks at 13, Moo 2 at 26. Like, guys, this is very, very close, except for Kardax, who just lost. And seeing that Rico is on fire right now, I assume that we might be running something that is Moonlight oriented.
Yeah, I think we saw
And
that earlier.
and it's actually really interesting because that makes Mewtwo's choice on the Moonlight Silas that much more cool and amazing because that's not something that Riku would ever have contested, even though they're
Yeah,
both running Moonlight, most likely.
definitely.
And so that choice, there's a little bit more pizzazz on it
Oh.
in Highsign.
No, Riku actually pivoted, I believe, from Wolfie's
Oh, good
scouting,
for him.
unless I'm insane. Yeah, Riku pivoted into Warwick, which is much to Wolfie's dismay here. Yeah, looking at Riku here, has the Warwick 2, has the Ash 2, has the Elderwood spat now as well, actually. Needs to find a way to fit a third Elderwood in there to get value from that. And with an Ezreal, you're definitely going to be seeing that value here. Elderwood spat on the Kindred, and I actually kind of like that. A death cap as well. Gonna be a lot of AP from this Kindred. Gonna be 1 or 2 shotting units, and
Uh-oh.
going against Wolfey, yeah, indeed, Boop. Warwick 2 is often better than Warwick 1, especially with perfect items on the Warwick 2.
This Warwick one is doing a lot more work on every round than
Mm,
would have anticipated, but I mean, we've got best in slot items for Riku. That was most likely the worst possible matchup for
yeah,
Wolfie, which is okay because he got his 2 best matchups, I think, in these last couple rounds. As MrMeeSeeks at 13
yeah.
HP is going to survive. Gunmay also going to be surviving. I wonder who he beat. Mewtwo also very, very low. It looks like we are going to be seeing 7-1 potentially once again, as these 4 lobbies have gone on, I think, longer than most of our other fight nights so far. And I had tech issues last week. So to put it into perspective on how long these players are playing for and how they have to pivot a couple times now, because you did your first pivot from early game to your team comp. Now you got to pivot into legendaries.
Yep.
And how they approach this is going to be really interesting because a lot of them are still around.
Yeah, Sonic's just actually found that Vigar 3 there with that GA blue buff and Jeweled Gauntlet. Good timing for that, but bad timing for Riku as they have to face it.
Oh, Tiger, you
Yeah.
chilling? You just chilling out
He's
here,
chilling for
buddy?
a sec there, a little weird,
Yeah.
but still winning
Report
the round.
GG AFK Viger, man.
Yeah, the BM. Extended BM.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? We ended up getting the victory anyway with that Viger 3. A lot of Viger today, just in general. I think we had a Viger comp in every lobby today, which is different. That's definitely the
Yeah,
biggest difference between this week and other weeks of Fight Night so far.
definitely. Last Kardex's comp there is very, very interesting. Wouldn't mind jumping on over to that in just a bit here. Riku. I wonder when he's actually gonna find and pick up a Chosen. I mean, finds Nephilios Chosen right there in the shop, but of course you don't want that one. Probably gonna be rolling down until one is located and acquired, however.
Man, these roll downs, I think, just haven't really been that friendly, at least the ones that we've been watching. That
Yeah.
tends to be a little bit of a TFT caster curse. If you're watching a player, they won't roll or hit anything that they need. Once you leave, they'll hit their tier 3
Uh,
units.
this
Oh,
ooh, okay.
okay.
I would have taken the Mystic Chosen Shen actually, because it gives you the free Mystic buff. You're not really gonna be finding a much better Chosen, honestly, at that point. You already have your tier 2 Work and tier 2 Ash. Like you're not gonna need to find a carry. I think skipping over that is honestly a misplay. But okay, jumping over to last Kardax's right now. Board, it is Shade Chosen Kane. This is the fast 9. This is the kind of you put a little bit of everything in there. Legendaries as well. You got a Warlord Spatula on a Jax you don't even have 3 Warlorded for, and you're still winning rounds at this point too, winning against Riku there.
Winning rounds with wasted stats, friends. That is
Yep.
that is living the life when it comes to TFT. That is how
Oh,
much of a lead Kardax has given up a lot of that lead over the last couple rounds. As Mutu, MeeSeeks, both eliminated in that last round. So a little bit of a fourth lobby curse, not as egregious as a lot of the other people who have participated in tonight. But
true.
MrMeeSeeks getting 5th is. We'll see if that's going to be enough. It should be, as I believe he had a 2-point lead. So it should maybe have been enough, but might fall victim to tiebreakers. But we still have this lobby to get through as we hit our top 4. Gunmay at 2, Riku at 14, Sonic at 36, having a much better second half. And we're going to see Sonic on the other side of the board. If there is someone that can take down a Kane, it is going to be a Viger, but you got to look right in front of you, buddy. You got to be able to take him down. Nope. You're
Yeah,
just
you
going to go
gotta
ahead
take
and take everyone else down instead.
take down the Kane
Oh,
and did so, but maybe a bit too late. Oh, the
oh.
Lux Binding comes out before the Vygar ulti there, but that was so close. Gunmay ends up falling down in this game in 4th, sneaking into 4th a couple times today, actually. I'm curious as Gunmay's overall, scores from today, because that's at least 3 games of top 4ing there,
Yeah,
honestly.
he's been the most
From
consistent player today.
Yeah, from what we've seen Gunmay last time, I think Gunmay had a bit of a disappointing performance last time on Fight Night,
Mhm.
but here, picking it up again, so I like to see that.
I believe he didn't get anything over the 7th last time he was here. So it was really, really sad, to be honest with you. But now we
Yeah.
get to see what our Team IKEA representative, um, self-admitted Team IKEA, by the way, everyone,
Yeah.
with Fluffy is, I think, the other pretty well-known Swedish player. Haven't seen him in a bit, but this Kane is nutso, man.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the
RFC
RFC.
Kane with the IE Jill Gauntlet, like, oh man, it's just one-shotting people.
Yeah, and
It's
that's when
so good.
and that's when you're like, "Should I go red or blue?" You're like, "You're gonna go blue." Um, because, like, you don't need a lifesteal if everyone is dead. And Lestar
Yeah.
and Sonic are gonna be our final 2. This was probably the formation of the top 2 that would cause the most chaos in our final standing. So I'm really intrigued. I have no clue where they're going to go, especially since Sonic
Oh.
might actually end up winning out this lobby with a Viger 3. That's the thing about Viger 3, right? It can kill anybody if he's looking in the right direction. And
Okay.
we got to
Yeah.
figure that out too. But what were you saying, Kron?
Oh, I was gonna say, sorry. So last Kardax actually ended up going for the red cane there, though. I thought actually looking at that board, it would have been blue cane because oftentimes the decision making there is that if you already have some more damage on the board, then you can go red cane. But if you don't really have anything else that's dealing damage, you kind of have to go blue cane. I guess with the specific item combination, though, the damage is already just there inherently with the Aijou Gauntlet combo. The
True,
healing
true,
is
true,
what's
true,
going to
true.
set you over the edge. And Last Card X is still winning these rounds, still on 48 HP. We might not see this game actually going to stage 7 just because how dominant Last Card X is right now.
I think you're right. Honestly, either choice I think works. It with that item combination, but you
Yeah.
are going to be finding more value by staying alive. With the, I mean, but at the same time, are you going to be doing the same amount of
Ooh.
damage to one-shot them, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot to talk about, but we have a
Sure, yeah.
final round to go through. As Sonikzo at 7 HP is going up against a beautiful Kayn on the other side. We are going to go ahead and reposition our carries into the front line, and that's not going to work. I appreciate the moxie involved. The idea was there, and you should do that at home too, because Sonic probably knew that they were probably going to lose. Congratulations, by the way, Kardax. And they, they Hail Married it, and that's what ended up happening. I respect that.
You know, that was oof. That was NSFW happened in the last round right there at the board. That Kayn actually just did some pretty disgusting things there. But no, Sonikzo actually ends up getting second place in that game. Last Kardax taking the W. I'm curious to see where these standings end up on the end of the day here, because these past, honestly, all of tonight has been really, really odd. It's been a lot of people being really close together, and then game 3 kind of took everything through a loop. But now, after 4 games, we're gonna see a victor here, and perhaps interviewing someone new.
It's actually really interesting because we had Wolfey and Gunmay leading the board going into halftime. Wolfey got 7th and 8th, I believe, in these last 2 rounds. Within got 8th on this last round. So whoever was winning earlier on, is we have a first place tie. I believe 10, 20. I believe Meeseeks 10.
I think.
Is it the same?
Oh, wait, I gotta get some confirmation. Kardax wins the tiebreaker.
Okay, Kardax is gonna win the tiebreaker because of the team.
Yes. Yeah, we're getting confirmation from admins as well. Last Kardax actually will be victorious for tonight, and this is one of the tightest. Like, actually, every single player here is so close in points, from 24 all the way down to bottom at 17. There, Sonikzo brought it back, honestly, with some pretty good games in games 3 and 4. But man, this competition though is so close. Wolfey down at the bottom there because of that 7th and 8th there. That's so crazy. Gunmay though making it to the top 3. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. So and the other thing to unpack too is Kardax winning by getting 7th and 1st place today. That's it.
Yep.
And so again, do not ever count yourself out. If you get that early 8th, if you get that early 7th, right, you're probably going to be fine. Even though all of our 8th place finishers finished in the bottom 3, that's not always the case. And so you've got last Kardax with 2 lobby wins, 24 points, low scoring night tonight overall. But yeah, off of that second fortune game is how we got here, which is hilarious to think about.
Oh man. That was at the end of the day, while it was a kind of a weird, I dare say, from my perspective, set of games in terms of how they played out, it's still a really good result to end things off on. It is low scoring. That's because the competition was so close. Every single person was trading blows back and forth, and we have a new Fight Night winner because of it.
That was a really, like you said, interesting way to potentially end set 4, going into set 4.5. The Spirit of the Beasts, I believe, with new units. We've got Siphon people. We've got a lot of new things coming through, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for TFT. And we're going to get the chance to cast it once we come back in the new year, which is going to be really exciting. But I believe we're going to get Kardax in for an interview once we hear their voice. If you can hear us, Kardax, go ahead and just say hello. But for now, it's like, what a crazy day of games. It's been a while. Like, we had Hobos and Umana here for so long. I think that these close lobbies were few and far between when they were here, and now that they've cycled themselves out a little bit, it's been a lot closer.
Yeah, definitely.
Hello, you guys hear me?
Hello. Yes, we hear you, Kardax. Can you hear us?
What's up?
Oh yeah, okay. Congratulations.
Yep, I can hear you guys just fine.
Okay, yeah, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Night for tonight. It was very close set of games. The scores were actually like so insane, and commentating, it has been kind of a whole ride for tonight here though. But how are you feeling after everything is said and done? Like, were you expecting to win based off of your placements here? Like, how did you feel after tonight?
Honestly, going into the second game, I was like, listen, I'm all or nothing fortunes here, and what happens, happens. And I ended up getting the payout by within, and I was like, easy game. All right, let's try. And then that's what I really like started tryharding. And then I got a first that game, and then I felt like, okay, maybe I can actually win this. Going into the third game though, that was like really, really tough for me. Like I got a 7th there. I had a really bad opener, and then I couldn't really like change my board up too much. So I just like fucking took a 7th. I was like, okay, I got it first next game, and as long as Seeks doesn't top 4, I'm good to go. Yeah, here we are. So
yeah, and it was 5th on fire at 13 HP, loses 1 round.
Yep.
And that's all you needed.
Yep.
In order to get the victory. These are the types of victories that like feel the best in my opinion. And so
for sure, yeah, totally.
So my question to you is, you got 7th place in 2 lobbies. You got 10th in you got 10 points in 2 lobbies. Would you consider yourself a 1st or 8th player just in general? At least today with Fortune, that's definitely the case. But
yeah, that's typically my playstyle. I'm very feast or famine playstyle. Like I go like I'm either like I'm like always like to the wall, you know, like I'm either 1st or 8th usually. I've always been this way. Like if you watch me like set 3, I was like mechs every game. I'm 1st or 8th. There's nothing else I do, you know.
I love it.
So it is, yeah.
And so the other question I have for you is, what are you looking forward to in the future, man? I think you are probably going to be our last victor before the new half set comes out, and so you get to claim that forever, which is really, really cool. But
that is true. I am the set 4 champion. That is true.
Yeah, exactly. Fight Night Rising set 4 champion until further notice, you know. But what are you looking forward to? Are you excited for any particular things that have gone online so far? Are you just excited for a little bit of a freshening up of the units? Are you excited in general?
Honestly, I reviewed like 4.5 units, and I'm super hyped. I'm extremely hyped for 4.5. I'm glad Moonlight is out. I don't want that shit in my games. That's obnoxious. I hate it. As much as I love to play, I hate playing against it. Yeah, I think 4.5 is going to be extremely fun. It looks really good on paper, and I just hope like it translates into the game.
Wonderful. Khroen, you take us out.
Yeah, definitely. I do have one final question, just about set 4 related here. We're gonna be on this patch for a little bit. We might not have fight nights for the next couple of weeks, but still everyone playing ladder and stuff, and a lot of tournaments and just the general TFT scene. So I want to just ask your general meta thoughts and opinions on this patch right now, in a couple of things. One being, what item do you like starting on the carousel? Because I think sometimes you get a lot of perspective on the player's play style because of that, and like what compositions are you personally like favoring? I know you said you like going 1st or 8th, but is that specifically with one composition or another?
That's a great question, Khroen. Usually I really like starting sword, because I feel like a lot of my playstyle builds out of sword. Like I'm slamming Zeeks, I'm slamming IE, I'm slamming like DB, I'm slamming every sword item as soon as like the game starts. And like I just like build off that. So for example, if I'm like slamming like Zeeks, I'm either playing like sharpshooters or I'm going into hunters. Like it just depends like how the game goes for me. And like my first chosen means a lot to me. So like you saw there in the last game, I got a Fiora chosen duelist, and I was like, all right, boys, it's time to bring out the duelist. I hit a Jax, I hit a Xin Zhao, and I'm like, all right, it's time to win streak. I just slammed the lock in. I just called it a day, honestly.
Yeah, no, it seems super powerful. It's super interesting. Like I love asking players like what they like starting, because it's such a varied answer from so many people. Like I know a lot of people like starting tiers in this meta right now, but
yeah, a lot of tiers and rods in this meta, I've noticed. That's why I just go for the swords. I don't contest the tiers and the rods. I just go swords and just fucking like 1st or 8th. It is, yeah.
Yeah, and it works for your playstyle very, very well, and worked enough for you to get the 1st for tonight. So once again, congratulations.
Thank
Kardax
you.
on your win. I gave you the floor. If you have any final words, any shout outs, where can we find you on Twitch and Twitter, things of the like?
You can find me on twitch.tv/lastkardax. I'm the absolute champion of Fight Night Rising. You already know who it is. So, you can check me out over there if you need me. But yeah, that's all I got. All I got for you.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Before you go, I just want to say that was a pretty great interview. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, that was so much fun. You have a wonderful rest of your week, wonderful rest of your 2020, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
crazy, right?
We'll see how it goes. The champ
Awesome.
back for 4.5. You already know who it is. It's easy dubs all around.
Love it.
Hopefully, the confidence that's there, but we're gonna have to wait a few weeks to see that. But congratulations once again. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. Oh man, the energy there. It's
Yeah.
infectious, honestly.
I
Glad
know,
Kardax is
like
so just, like hyped.
I want like I was like I'm like ready to play some games now, dude.
Yeah.
Like and winning like that too, like puts you on that kind of cloud nine. Like
Oh yeah.
he's gonna feel really good for like 2 hours and then get mega tired. Like it's like eating too much Halloween candy, right? And you know what? Enjoy it because that was a pretty crazy day of
Oh yeah.
TFT. And to close us out for 2020 Khroen, it has been a crazy year overall for everybody. But if I get to spend it with a certain community, I'm really happy that it's here at Giant Slayer. Everyone at Wisdom, everyone behind the scenes, all of our producers that we've worked with, from Kimiko to Matlock to In the Flesh. Everyone has been absolutely amazing, and mostly Khroen, to you, hanging out with you all year has been so much fun, and I'm excited to keep doing it again next year, my friend. Well,
Couldn't have said it better myself, Boop. The whole team here, very wonderful, very very blessed to be able to do. I've been casting fight nights for pretty much like since the inception of them. Actually,
yeah,
the time's just been flying. But no, it's a wonderful community here, and it's honestly just great. So thank you for being a wonderful casting partner, Boop. And man, it feels like we're saying goodbye right now. Honestly,
it's
I
been
guess
a
we are
while.
because we got a
Yeah,
couple weeks break here.
yeah.
So to all you, in the chat, hopefully you get a good end of your set 4 there. We're going to come back here with probably set 4.5
Vengeance.
with a vengeance. Last Kardax and easy dubs when we get back here
Yeah.
too. But
Get it.
yeah, any final words, Boop, before we sign off here?
I'm so happy for this year to end. My friends, my quarantine 15 has already turned into a 30, and so I need to I need to take these 2 weeks to do some reflecting. Oh, and before I forget, also there are a lot of people like Lake Fu, the mods, the scorekeepers, everything like that that have been helping us run this for this entirety of the year. So again, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are absolutely wonderful to work with, and thank you everyone who's still here and everyone who's watching for being a part of this wonderful community. And I'll see you next year, friends.
There you go. I don't even Boop. You're so sweet.
You're welcome.
That'll do it for us here tonight at Fight Night Rising. Until next time, until 2021, have a good night, and we will see you soon.